Chapter 570. The Flame of Hope, Current Situation of Zhao Qingqing. Under Sun He, Lu Pingan felt as if Tai Mountain was pressing down on him, his heart beating, thump, 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 rapidly, accompanied by a sense of suffocation. Moreover, the light within his body surged like a river, pervaded by an indescribable willpower that nearly crushed him to his knees. But his father's words, "Hold on," had him gritting his teeth and persevering. Because from his childhood to now, his father had never spoken to him in such a serious tone. This was the first time his father had spoken to him with such earnestness, encouraging him to hold on. Although his personality was straightforward, he wasn't foolish. He knew that if his father was bringing this up today, there must be a profound significance. This was a trial from his father. Therefore, he had to hold on, and not let his father down. It seems, at most, a 6th grade spiritual root. Lu Changxing watched as the light inside his son Lu Pingan grew brighter and brighter. Accompanied by a profound and mysterious sensation, he exhaled softly. He could tell that Lu Pingan was nearly at his limit. For a mortal to activate the spiritual root, a 6th grade spiritual root is already quite good. Lu Changxing muttered to himself. He knew that normally, activating the spiritual root with the Hope Goo would result in a lower grade spiritual root. For Lu Pingan to have a 6th grade spiritual root was already commendable. Moreover, through the system, he knew that the true power of the Hope Goo wasn't just to open mortals to spiritual roots, but rather, as long as the host harbors hope, miracles can happen. As long as the fire of hope in the host's heart doesn't die out, the Hope Goo can burst with power, stimulate potential, and fight for a glimmer of hope. No matter whether facing a hopeless situation, powerful enemies, or breaking through realms, it can have a certain effect. Otherwise, a sky spirit goo that can only open mortals to spiritual roots would seem quite ordinary. Lu Pingan clenched his fists tightly, his cheeks and arms showing bulging veins like little snakes. As the spiritual root evolved from lower grade to middle grade, the light inside his body expanded greatly, like a blazing sun, almost bursting forth from his body. His bones crackled. It seemed as though his meridians and flesh were about to be destroyed, causing him to suffocate and making it extremely painful to breathe. It seemed as if things continued like this, he would die. At the same time, a gentle breeze seemed to caress his body and mind, making him feel weary in body and mind, wanting to let go, to give up. Lu Pingan. A girl in black appeared in his mind, shouting loudly at him. It seemed as if she was telling him to give up, to stop enduring. The fear of death, the instinct to slack off, began to engulf and pervade his heart. I can't hold on any longer. His taut body and mind seemed about to give up at this moment. But as soon as this thought appeared, it was like a bolt of lightning striking Lu Pingan awake. I can't give up. This is my father's test. I must hold on. Hold on. This may concern my fate in cultivation. Lu Pingan bit down hard on his teeth and persisted. In this moment, his deep longing and yearning for cultivation were ignited within his heart. Pain and lethargy, persistence and obsession made him continue to struggle in body and mind. Lu Changxing, noting that Lu Pingan was still gritting his teeth and enduring, was somewhat surprised. Logically, achieving a 6th grade spiritual root should have been his limit. Unexpectedly, he was still tenaciously holding on. It seemed his son had quite impressive willpower. Boom! A profound and mysterious pulsation spread. He knew that Lu Pingan's spiritual root had elevated to 5th grade. In that instant, the light within Lu Pingan's body exploded dramatically, making his whole being feel like it was bathing in a hot spring, warm and relaxed. His stress eased and pores dilated, expelling a layer of impurities from his body. This process seemed lengthy, but it was incredibly brief. The whole thing lasted less than the time it takes to drink a cup of tea. Father, what just happened? Lu Pingan came back to his senses, confused, looking at his own palms and at his father in front of him, as if the previous pain and imagery were illusions. Now his whole body felt light as a feather, extremely comfortable and full of strength. he knew that his martial path had just advanced further. From a recently achieved innate grandmaster, he had broken through to innate great grandmaster. That was the pinnacle of martial arts. But he felt that what his father had just done for him wasn't as simple as a martial arts breakthrough. It's nothing, you actually have a spiritual root, it just wasn't detected before. Follow me to Qingzhou Mountain later. Lu Changxing snapped his fingers, performing a cleansing technique, and cleaned his son's body of all impurities. He hadn't expected that using the Hope Goo would also incidentally stimulate the potential within Lu Pingan, taking his martial arts a step further. Now, Lu Pingan had reached the end of his martial path. However, the strength of an innate great grandmaster was quite ordinary, equivalent to a cultivator with minor body refinement, only with an added force of innate gang qi. What? I have a spiritual root. Upon hearing this, Lu Pingan was stunned, his face showing surprise and disbelief. He hadn't expected that he would actually possess a spiritual root. But remembering what had just happened, he looked at his father and said, "Father, my spiritual root, is it because of what you just did? You do have a spiritual root. When we get to Qingzhou Mountain, I will teach you how to cultivate." Lu Changxing stood up, patted his son's broad shoulders and said, "Yes, father, I understand." Lu Pingan replied, pressing his lips together and speaking in a deep voice. Although he didn't know much about cultivation, he was aware of some things. For someone to be given a spiritual root, it was an act against the natural order. Today, no matter what, he possessed a spiritual root, although it hadn't been detected before. Well, having a spiritual root of the same element is not bad. Lu Changxing placed his hand on Lu Pingan's shoulder, his divine sense and mana moving through his body to examine the condition of his spiritual root. Chapter 571, The Flame of Hope, Current Situation of Xianxia. Everyone's spiritual root contains all 5 elements, but most tend to be skewed towards one element. Therefore, everyone chooses their cultivation method based on the element with the highest attribute of their spiritual root. Lu Pingan's spiritual root, however, was balanced across all 5 elements, each just reaching the status of 5th grade. With this attribute of the spiritual root, cultivating the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture, especially the 5 luminaries' star demise sword canon, would be quite effective. Dad, what grade is my spiritual root? Lu Pingan looked at his father with curiosity and asked. He knew that spiritual roots were classified into 9 grades. So he was a bit curious about the grade of his own spiritual root. Your spiritual root is 7th grade. Lu Changxing thought for a moment before speaking out. Although a 5th grade spiritual root didn't seem high from his current perspective, comparatively speaking, it was still quite high. So it was better to say a lower grade. 7th grade. Lu Pingan heard this, nodded his head, and showed no sign of disappointment. In his eyes, possessing a spiritual root and being able to cultivate was already very satisfying. His own father was only of 9th grade spiritual root, and through step-by-step effort he had achieved his current status. With his own 7th grade spiritual root, what more could he ask for? As long as he worked hard, he would surely be able to make his mark in the cultivation world. After resolving the matter with Lu Pingan, Lu Changxing did not widely publicize this affair. He merely mentioned to his wife, Lu Lanshu, that he just discovered that their son Lu Pingan had a spiritual root. It either went undetected in his childhood, or the spiritual root was hidden. Therefore, he was planning to take him back to Qingzhou Mountain. What? Pingan has a spiritual root? Lu Lanshu was momentarily stupefied upon hearing this, feeling as if she had been struck by a pie falling from the sky. She knew her son lacked a spiritual root, so she had always wanted him to take charge of the secular Lu family. But the boy wasn't interested in that area, being a bit slow on the uptake, which gave her quite a headache. She didn't expect that now Lu Changxing would tell her that their son had a spiritual root. She felt an unexpected and delightful surprise. Husband, are you serious? Lu Lanshu covered her mouth with her hands and spoke with a trembling voice. Of course I am. I'll let Pingan come back often, and then you can see for yourself, Lu Changxing said softly. Lu Lanshu's heart swelled with joy as she looked at her son and advised him to listen carefully to his father and to take in the words of Aunt Miaoga. She knew Lu Miaoga was the eldest young miss of the Lu family and held a special status. If her own son could gain favor from several of the family's primary wives, his life on Qingzhou Mountain would be better. "Mother, I understand, don't worry," Lu Pingon replied earnestly. "You're grown up now, Mother won't say anything more." Lu Lanshu looked at her son with a beaming smile, her heart filled with joy. She knew that Lu Changsheng had always been fond of her son. Now that he had a spiritual root, he would surely not suffer on Qingzhou Mountain. Moments later, she hesitantly asked Lu Changsheng, "Husband, since Pingon has a spiritual root, Kuningjing, Anning, Anren, do they also have spiritual roots?" These were all her children. She had given birth to 6 children for Lu Changsheng. But none of these 6 children had a spiritual root. "Later, have all the children gather in the backyard, and I'll check them over again," Lu Changsheng said after a moment of contemplation. The matter of Lu Pingon having a spiritual root would definitely not stay hidden. He planned to take Lu Pingon back to Qingzhou Mountain, and telling Lu Lanshu was a sign he hadn't wished to conceal it. With that in mind, it was best to recheck all the children in the family. Yet thinking of these children, he sighed softly, knowing they would have expectations but would ultimately be disappointed. "You've worked hard, husband," Lu Lanshu immediately said, hastily going to spread the news. Now that he was back in Rui Prefecture, Lu Changsheng naturally also took the opportunity to meet with Hong Yi and inquire about the situation of his son Lu Chuanjin. However, the Rui Marquis told Lu Changsheng that Hong Yi and Lu Chuanjin had gone out on a mission, and he would immediately have someone send a message to Hong Yi. The next day, Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoga, in the Lu family's backyard, rechecked the spiritual roots of all the children. But after the examination, no one else was found to have a spiritual root. This led to disappointment among those children and several wives. Seeing this scene, Lu Pingon pursed his lips and felt a heaviness in his heart. He was almost certain that his having a spiritual root was the doing of his father, Lu Changsheng. Thinking of his father's favoritism towards him, he felt an increased sense of heavy responsibility. Lu Changsheng stayed in Rui Prefecture for 5 days. Today, Hong Yi and Lu Chuanjin arrived at the Lu residence, travel-worn. "Congratulations to Lu Elder, for your breakthrough in foundation establishment." Son pays respects to father, congratulating father on the breakthrough in foundation establishment. Upon arriving at the Lu residence, the two of them immediately bowed to Lu Changsheng. Brother Hong, we've known each other for so many years, there's no need for such formality." Upon hearing Hong Yi's term of address, Lu Changsheng knew had received news of his own breakthrough in foundation establishment. After all, the Red Leaf Valley Market was near Qingzhou Mountain, and the Rui Marquis Mansion had shops there. Upon receiving such news, it would naturally be relayed back promptly. "It was I who was too formal, please don't take offense, Brother Lu," Hong Yi said with a smile upon hearing this response, but his demeanor remained somewhat restrained and full of respect and awe. After all, this was a foundation establishment great cultivator. He had never expected that the poor farmer's son he once looked down upon would have achieved foundation establishment 20-something years later. Once upon a time, the two of them, among 6 others, went to Qingyun sect for the Immortal sect's examination. 3 were admitted to Qingyun sect, and 3 were not chosen. Lu Changsheng had the poorest spiritual root talent among all. Yet now, this person with the poorest spiritual root had achieved foundation establishment, which truly made him reflect on the unpredictability of the world. Chapter 572, The Flame of Hope, Current Situation of Zhao Qingqing. However, he felt fortunate for his past decision to foster relations and invest in Lu Changsheng. Take the elixir medicine. Lu Changsheng looked at his son, Lu Chuanjin, with one glance. Noticing that his breath was slightly disordered, he must have sustained some minor injuries. He flicked a bottle of healing pills from his storage bag and had his son take them. "Father, it's just some minor injuries, I'll recover after 10 days to half a month." Lu Chuanjin took the medicine and spoke respectfully. "If I tell you to take it, then take it, no need to save money at home." Lu Changsheng said, "Brother Lu, this trip was my fault. I went out to capture a robber cultivator, confident it was a sure success. But unexpectedly, this person actually had a spiritual pet hidden in the shadows that ambushed Xianxia. Hong Yi quickly said, "It's fine, where can one be without getting hurt sometimes?" Such experiences can also teach a lesson. Lu Changxing waved his hand dismissively upon hearing this. He then instructed Lu Qianzhen to go and tend to his injuries. This child takes his leave. Lu Qianzhen, realizing that his father must have had something to discuss with Hong Yi, excused himself immediately. Shortly after, Lu Changxing took out drinks and made small talk with Hong Yi, inquiring about his son, Lu Quanzhen's performance over the past 2 years, as well as inquiring about some matters of the Lu family. In this regard, Hong Yi naturally did not dare to conceal anything and reported everything about Lu Quanzhen's performance in detail. He mentioned that initially he didn't dare let Lu Qianzhen do anything dangerous, and he only did odd jobs, but Lu Qianzhen had a steady character and handled the tasks with order and without mess. Later on, he started to take charge of some affairs and managed everything in a very orderly and proper manner. Over the past half year, he had been taking Lu Qianzhen with him on some missions to capture robber cultivators and demon beasts, and Lu Qianzhen had shown to be courageous and tactful, decisive in killing. Brother Hong, don't just selectively praise him. Lu Changxing raised his eyebrows at this. He knew his son was precocious and had strong opinions, but he didn't expect him to receive such high praise from Hong Yi. Brother Lu, how could I possibly deceive you about this kind of matter? Qianzhen truly excels in this regard. Hong Yi said with a wry smile. As he spoke, he slapped on flattery. I suppose it's also due to the influence from growing up under your guidance, Brother Lu, that Qianzhen has shown such excellence. Since that's the case, let's continue to have him hone his skills under your mentorship for a few more years, Brother Hong. His mother worries about him every day, and I was thinking that if he doesn't adapt, he should come back earlier to manage the business in the marketplace. Lu Changxing nodded slightly and said aloud. He had thought that if his son, Lu Qianzhen, had only shown mediocre performance, there would be no need to keep fighting and killing on this front. He would bring him back to Qingzhou Mountain and go to Red Leaf Valley Market to be responsible for some affairs. However, since his son indeed had the talent, he would leave him with Hong Yi to continue his experience. Rest assured, Brother Lu, I will certainly take good care of Qianzhen. Hong Yi raised his glass and spoke respectfully. He had initially wanted to marry his daughter, who had a spiritual root, to Lu Qianzhen. But now that Lu Changxing had made a breakthrough to foundation establishment, he felt a bit embarrassed to bring up the subject. In his heart, he planned that when the time was right, he would have his daughter make an effort to get Lu Qianzhen to bring up the matter with his father. He'll have to trouble you then, Brother Hong. Lu Changxing nodded, clinked glasses in return, and also inquired about Hong Yi's current situation. Since the other party was handling all sorts of miscellaneous affairs for him, it was only proper to reciprocate, and naturally, he would also help in resolving some matters in return. In this manner, as the two of them talked on, they discussed Li Feiyu, Han Lin, Zhao Qingqing, and Xianxia. Li Feiyu had gone to Azure Phoenix Immortal City and, apart from writing 2 letters over the years, there hadn't been much contact. Apart from Xianxia, Lu Changxing also had not been in touch with Han Lin and Zhao Qingqing. However, Hong Yi had kept in touch with both Han Lin and Zhao Qingqing and even conducted quite a bit of business with them. For instance, when they needed to collect some materials or information within the sect, they could leave it to Hong Yi to take care of. If Hong Yi had any needs, he would also write to the two, as it was a mutually beneficial arrangement. In the midst of the conversation, Hong Yi relayed the latest news about the two to Lu Changxing. Han Lin had a small talent in artifact refining and was now a superior artifact refiner at the 8th level energy refinement. Zhao Qingqing had already reached the 9th level energy refinement and was preparing for foundation establishment. It seems that in a few years, Taoist Zhao will also be able to break through foundation establishment, Lu Changxing said with a smile. She remembered that Zhao Qingqing possessed a vague body and was taken as a disciple by an outer sect elder of Qingyun sect. Maybe she could exchange for a foundation establishment elixir to break through foundation establishment. It's not that simple. Years ago, Taoist Zhao asked me to help keep an eye out for news about Foundation establishment spirit objects. She indicated that her contributions couldn't exchange for a Foundation establishment elixir in the sect, but only for a meridian protecting elixir. At that time, she could only rely on Foundation establishment spirit objects to attempt Foundation establishment. Hong Yi shook his head and sighed. Oh, doesn't she have a master? Won't the master lend a hand and help? Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing was somewhat surprised. In the cultivation world, the mentor-disciple relationship is no less significant than the parent-child relationship. Thus, as a master, most would nurture and help their own disciples. I have heard a little about it. Taoist Zhao's master has a grandchild who is an inner sect disciple of Qingyun sect. She originally took in Taoist Zhao as a disciple to facilitate a match between Zhao and her grandchild. But Zhao Qingqing was unwilling, so the relationship between master and disciple is not good. Otherwise, with a master who is an outer sect elder, Taoist Zhao might have been able to exchange for a Foundation establishment elixir. Hong Yi sighed as he spoke. Indeed, it seems you can't escape worldly concerns anywhere. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing also shook his head and sighed. He had thought that since Zhao Qingqing had awakened a vague body and been taken in by Qingyun sect's medicine garden manager as a disciple, her future Foundation establishment was hopeful. Unexpectedly, she still couldn't escape the worldly concerns and covetousness. After chatting idly for a long time, Hong Yi took his leave from Lu Changxing. Afterward, Lu Changxing asked his son Lu Chuanjin if he planned to return home with him or stay here. If mother sees my injuries, she's going to fuss over it again. I'll visit father and mother at Qingzhou Mountain after some time has passed. Lu Chuanjin said. Ordinarily he wasn't afraid of much, but he did dread his mother's nagging. If she saw any injuries on him, she would surely worry and prevent him from going out. At that point, if his mother cried and spoke a few words to his father might just agree to it. All right, you've always been sensible. Take care of these matters as you see fit. Lu Changxing nodded without insisting. After that, he continued, in the future, if you ever feel uncertain about something or go out on some task, you can take Jiuyo with you for support. Jiuyo? Lu Chuanjin was taken aback. That's Xiao He. Lu Changxing explained. Because they had originally brought the Jiuyo back home simply as a companion for the children to play with, they had given it the modest name Xiao He. As a result, these children barely knew the name Nine Netherhound. Xiao He doesn't seem to be very close to me. Upon hearing this, Lu Chuanjin scratched his head and said. He knew that the spiritual pet his father raised was very powerful. But the Nine Netherhound was mostly close to the children like Lu Pingan, Lu Wuyo, and Lu Wuyu, who had grown up together. It did not show much closeness to him. All right, I'll have a word with it. Lu Changxing said. He took Lu Chuanjin to meet the Nine Netherhound, asking it to heed Lu Quanzhen's words from time to time. He also gave Lu Chuanjin a spiritual pet bag and 3 bottles of pet nourishing pills to tend to the Nine Netherhound and keep it inside the spiritual pet bag while traveling. Thank you, father. Lu Chuanjin bowed and thanked. After settling all the family matters, Lu Changxing boarded the spirit boat with Lu Miaoge, Lu Pingan, and a few other children, returning to Qingzhou Mountain. Chapter 573, Family Reputation and Spiritual Land Inspection, 2-in-1, 1500 monthly tickets additional update, _1 3 days later. A spirit boat descended outside Qingzhou Mountain. Lu Pingan looked at the Qingzhou Mountain before him, feeling as if it were a lifetime ago. He still remembered, at the age of 8, being sent by his father Lu Changxing to Rui Prefecture. Great Elder, Miaoge, you have returned. The clan elder guarding the mountain gate saw Lu Changxing and saluted with cupped hands. He hurriedly opened the mountain gate grand formation and let Lu Changxing and the others enter. Elder Yun. Lu Changxing smiled at this elder of the Lu family, walking through the mountain gate. He did not behave any differently due to the elevation in his status and identity. Lu Changxing saw that Lu Miaoge looked a bit astonished and guessed that she was puzzled about how he became the great elder. He spoke up to explain. The family said that since I have now made a breakthrough to Foundation establishment, I should naturally become an elder ancestor for the family. But I found it awkward, so I declined, and as a result, the family promoted me from the 9th elder to the great elder. Lu Changxing spoke softly. Changxing, now that you have broken through to foundation establishment, according to family rules, you naturally become an elder ancestor, and there is nothing wrong with that. Lu Miaoge said softly upon hearing this. In her view, such a matter was entirely normal and to be expected. Not just in the Lu family, but throughout the entire cultivation world, this was the case. Because for cultivators, each major realm was like a chasm separating heaven and earth. Foundation establishment cultivators are more noble than energy refining cultivators. There is an essential difference in the quality of life between the two. Just as mortals become elevated immediately upon becoming cultivators. And energy refining cultivators, as long as they break through to foundation establishment, would see their lifespan, strength, identity, and status rise exponentially. This is also why countless energy refining cultivators, despite knowing the difficulty of foundation establishment as elusive, still chase after this faint hope desperately, dedicating their entire lives. Dad, you've become a foundation-building great cultivator? Lu Qingsong, standing nearby, heard the conversation and instantly widened his eyes, looking at his father in amazement. They had been around Lu Changxing for so long without knowing about their father's breakthrough to foundation establishment. Lu Pingon was also surprised. He hadn't expected that his father was actually a foundation-building great cultivator. He might not be a cultivator himself, but he knew that within the cultivation world, foundation-building great cultivators were esteemed beings. And his father, unconsciously, had become a foundation-building great cultivator? This inspired a sense of admiration in him. Admiration for his father who rose from humble beginnings and insignificant origins. And now, to become an esteemed foundation-building great cultivator within the cultivation world. Yes. Lu Changxing smiled and nodded. Then, patting Lu Qingsong on the head, he said, "About your brother's matter, you should take the time to comfort and cajole your mother, understand?" On this trip home, he naturally had to discuss Lu Qingshan's circumstances with his wife Lu Miaohuan. Lu Miaohuan was not as strong as Lu Miaoge. Knowing that her son was taken as a disciple by a nascent soul immortal, even though she would certainly be thrilled and proud of her son, she would also definitely feel sad and distressed. "I understand, Dad." Lu Qingsong, hearing this, nodded somewhat understandingly yet somewhat not. He thought that his brother being taken as a disciple by a nascent soul immortal should be a good thing, so why comfort their mother? In the midst of speaking, they arrived home. "Husband, Sister Miaoge." The house became lively immediately upon hearing that Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge had returned. "Oh, Pingon is here too." Chu Zhenjin spoke upon seeing Lu Pingon. She had looked after Lu Pingon when he was young and had visited the mortal world on several occasions, so she recognized him. "Yes, I found during this trip that Pingon actually possesses a spiritual root, so I brought him over." Lu Changxing smiled at Chu Zhenjin. "So it's Pingon. So many years have passed, and I hardly recognized you." Lu Miaoyun also saw Lu Pingon and cheerfully spoke. "I have seen Aunt." Lu Pingon, seeing the several ants before him, respectfully saluted, slightly constrained. "Husband, sister, where are Qingshan and Qingzhu?" At this moment, the tall and graceful second miss, dressed in a golden luxurious skirt, approached. She saw Lu Changxing, Lu Miaoge, Lu Qingsong and Lu Wangshu, but not Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu. Looking around with her beautiful eyes, she asked, "Huan, on this trip I took Qingshan and the others to Green River Marketplace, and along the way, Lu Miaoge, with a grace and gentleness like flowing water, stepped forward and began to recount to her sister with a hint of guilt on her face. Although it was a chance occurrence, and a great one at that, Lu Qingshan had been taken away by a nascent soul immortal to become his disciple without having the chance to say goodbye to his mother, Lu Miaohuan. Moreover, with Lu Changxing bringing out orthodox-level cultivation techniques, foundation establishment elixirs, and foundation establishment spirit objects, she faintly felt, the children, being by their side, may not be much worse off than becoming disciples of a nascent soul immortal. Xianxia has a Gingjin body constitution and was noticed by the nascent soul Immortal of Yu country's Immortal sects, who took him as a disciple. And Xianxia requested the Immortal to take Qingzhu as a disciple as well. Lu Miaohuan, hearing this, was taken aback. Her delicate and stunning face revealed a look of astonishment. She never imagined that her own son possessed a 1-in-million spiritual body, and had captured the attention of a nascent soul Immortal, who took him as a disciple to an Immortal sect for cultivation. This left her feeling excited and thrilled. But at the next moment, realizing her son was only 10 years old, and considering his normally mischievous nature, she couldn't help but worry, thinking about him being taken to a far-off Immortal sect in Yu country. Congratulations, Sister Huanhuan. Xianxia has been accepted as a disciple by a nascent soul Immortal. Congratulations, Sister Miaoga. Little Zhu has been taken in by the nascent soul Immortal. I always said that Xianxia was no ordinary child since his youth, and I never expected he actually has a spiritual body. It said that 1-in-million cultivators possess spiritual bodies, and it seems that Xianxia is certainly destined to become a foundation-building great cultivator. Not only that, perhaps in the future he could even become a nascent soul Immortal. Chapter 574, Family Reputation and Spiritual Land Inspection, 2-in-1, 1,500 monthly tickets additional update. Xianxia is such a considerate child, to encounter such an opportunity and still think of bringing his sister along. Lu Miaoyun, Chu Zhinzhin, and others beside them were incredibly envious upon hearing this and offered their congratulations one after another. In their eyes, although parting was sad, this was a great opportunity, a cause for immense joy. They were filled with envy. Truly worthy of being my son, Lu Miaohuan. Lu Miaohuan lifted her delicate chin ever so slightly as she heard everyone's congratulations, pride and satisfaction immediately showing on her face. After all, her son possessed a spiritual body and had been taken as a disciple by a nascent soul Immortal. It was certain that in the future he would definitely break through foundation establishment and become a foundation establishment great cultivator. This made her, as a mother, bask in reflected glory, feeling immensely proud and arrogant. He, as the saying goes, blue is extracted from the indigo plant but is more vivid than the plant itself. Who knows, Xianxia might come back even more powerful than this father of his. Upon seeing Lu Miaohuan's happy face, without a trace of sorrow or pain, Lu Changxing stepped forward and took her fair and slender hand, chuckling. Now that Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoga had returned and brought such news, their home was filled with joy and harmony. During the evening meal, Sister Miaoga, this is Xiao Ling Xiao. Xiao, this is my wife Lu Miaoga. Lu Changxing introduced Lu Miaoga and Ling Xiao to each other. One was his wife and the other a Taoist companion. There was also the matter of healing to discuss afterward, so of course, they had to get to know each other. I have seen Sister Ling. Lu Miaoga, being aware that Ling Xiao was a great cultivator of foundation building, greeted her politely and with a warm countenance. Lu Taoist. Ling Xiao's elegant, pale face carried a demure grace, and she greeted Lu Miaoga with a gentle and elegant smile. Her clear and bright eyes of Qiushui studied Lu Miaoga before her. Lu Changxing had mentioned that once Lu Miaoga returned, there would be hope of resolving her dragon roar physique. So, she wanted to know how Lu Miaoga, who had only achieved the 9th level of energy refinement, could possibly resolve her dragon roar physique. However, after some casual conversation and seeing Lu Miaoga did not bring up healing, Ling Xiao didn't inquire either. She waited for Lu Changxing to bring it up and make arrangements. Their initial meeting was quite mundane, and Lu Changxing didn't pay it too much attention. After all, neither woman was particularly warm or overly familiar. It wasn't possible for them to hit it off immediately and become deeply engrossed in conversation. That night, in a small courtyard, "Have you got it?" Lu Changxing looked at his son, Lu Pingon, and asked. He was teaching Lu Pingon the 5 elements star destruction sword cannon. Because Lu Pingon had not yet started cultivating, he couldn't view the jade slip with his mental spirit. So his father had to teach him bit by bit, explaining the sword cannon's cultivation methods, brain meditation, technique circulation, and so on little by little. until he completely understood it and committed the technique firmly to memory. Dad, I remember it. Lu Pingon nodded vigorously. As a grandmaster of martial arts, his memory was extraordinary. Although the technique was mystically profound, with Lu Changsheng's detailed explanation, he was able to memorize it all. Good, with that being the case, start cultivating and try to draw the qi into your body. Lu Changsheng nodded to this, encouraging Lu Pingon to begin cultivating. Yes, Dad. Hearing this, Lu Pingon immediately closed his eyes, sat cross-legged according to his father's instructions, and began cultivating. Time passed by slowly. No one knew how long had passed. Forget it, you keep cultivating, and once you can enter the state, tell me. Seeing that his son hadn't been able to enter the proper state, Lu Changsheng shook his head slightly. The 5 elements star destruction sword cannon, as a peripheral sect-level technique, naturally wasn't easy to comprehend. The first step of cultivation, drawing qi into the body, required harmonious body and mind, clear and empty mental spirit, and a stance towards heaven with the contemplation of the 5 elemental stars, which carried certain difficulties. It wasn't like the returning origin technique, a basic cultivation technique, where one simply needed to silently sense the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to proceed. However, Lu Changsheng was roughly certain that his son's comprehension abilities were quite ordinary. After seeing his son open up a 5th-grade spiritual root under the Hope Gus influence, had harbored a small expectation that his son would surprise him in other areas. It seemed he had hoped for too much. Dad, am I really bad at this? Lu Pingon opened his eyes and scratched his head rather sheepishly. This is normal. Usually, it takes about 10 days to half a month to get a knack for it. Lu Changsheng did not discourage his son, instead offering reassuring words. Okay. Lu Pingon nodded upon hearing this, determined to work hard in the coming days, to master the technique, and to not disappoint his father. All right, if you have any issues or questions, come find me at any time. Lu Changsheng patted his shoulder and said. As he looked at the moonlight streaming through the haze of the night, he exhaled softly, walked out of the small courtyard, and went over to Lu Miaohuan's. He could sense that Lu Miaohuan hadn't gone to rest yet. Huan. Arriving at the courtyard, Lu Changsheng saw Lu Miaohuan dressed in a golden gown, sitting by the window with knees hugged to her chest, gazing blankly at the moonlight outside. He knew she must be worrying about her son, Lu Qingshan, and stepped forward to wrap his arms around her shoulders. My husband. Lu Miaohuan's eyes reddened upon seeing Lu Changsheng, and her face showed signs of distress and sadness. What's the matter? Are you missing Qingshan? Lu Changsheng held his wife close in his arms and spoke softly, smiling. Qingshan is still so young, and he loves to be mischievous. What if he doesn't make his master happy after going to Jinyang sect? Or what if he's bullied by others? Lu Miaohuan's eyes were rimmed with red, and she murmured with concern. She was okay during the day. Facing the congratulations and praises of others, thinking of her son being taken as a disciple by a nascent soul immortal, her heart was filled with happiness and pride. But during the still of the night, the thought of her son, only 10 years old, and now taken away to cultivate in Jinyang sect in far-off Yu country. Chapter 575, Family Reputation and Spiritual Land Inspection, 2-in-1, 1,500 monthly tickets additional update. I'm afraid it might be many years before we see each other again. Which is why the more I think about it, the more I miss him, and a wave of sadness washes over my heart. How could that be? Qingshan is able to have a nascent soul immortal personally accept disciples, and even took in Xiaozhu for Qingshan's sake. How could they not be favored by their master? Besides, even though Qingshan is a bit mischievous, he is very sensible and will naturally be liked by the master. With a nascent soul master to support him, who would dare to bully him? Lu Changsheng said in a comforting tone. However, despite saying this, he couldn't help but worry about his son and daughter. His daughter, Lu Qingzhu, was fine, with her gentle nature, never causing trouble or conflicts with others. But his son, Lu Qingshan, had a vein of pride in him and was of a particularly competitive nature. With such a character, stepping onto the path of immortality was bound to invite strife. But when I think of Qingshan being so far away, I feel terrible. When Qingshan comes back, will he have forgotten about me, his mother? Lu Miaohuan said, her eyes red, and she began to weep softly. It's common for children to gradually grow distant from their families and parents after they leave for immortal sects at a young age. Thus, thinking about her son being so young and not only going to a sect, but possibly unable to see each other for 10 or 20 years, she was overwhelmed by sadness. It's all right, in a few years, once the family is stable and we have time, we'll go to the Jinyang sect to visit Qingshan and Xiaozhu. In the Azure Phoenix Immortal City, there's a Jinyang sect's spiritual vessel every year, so we can go there and take the spiritual vessel to visit them. Lu Changsheng said, trying to soothe Lu Miaohuan. His words were not only to appease Lu Miaohuan. Lu Miaoga had mentioned that Tianyuan True Immortal had said that once the children reached Foundation establishment, they would be allowed to return home to visit. But even if Lu Qingshan was extraordinarily talented, possessing a 6th grade gold-attributed spiritual root and the Gingjin body constitution, it would still take at least more than 10 years to break through to Foundation establishment. After more than 10 years without seeing them, he too was uneasy about his son being away. Therefore, he planned to visit the Jinyang sect to check on his children's situation when he had the time. However, traveling to the Jinyang sect entailed a long journey, and dangers could arise at any moment. With so many matters at hand right now, he couldn't possibly go. So he was thinking of waiting for another 3 to 5 years. By then, after establishing his family and having more time, he would take Lu Miaoga and Lu Miaohuan to visit the sect. By that time, after having infused his 9 treasure jade Ri into his life-bound treasured bone and armed with 3rd-rank talismans, even if he faced a nascent soul immortal, he would have the power to fully defend himself. Really? Upon hearing this, Lu Miaohuan looked at Lu Changxing with red, tear-filled eyes, looking pitiful and aggrieved. When have I ever lied to my Huan? Seeing the second miss looking so distressed, Lu Changxing said with a gentle smile, wiping the tears from the corner of her eyes. Continuing, he said, now that Qingshan and Xiaozhu have gone to the Jinyang sect, as their father, I naturally miss them dearly and want to see how they are doing. Let's wait a few years for the family situation to settle down, then we'll go visit Qingshan and Xiaozhu. Huan, don't be upset anymore. Lu Changxing held his wife in his arms, speaking softly. After hearing this, Lu Miaohuan turned her cries into laughter, quietly snuggling into her husband's embrace. When Lu Miaochang learned that Lu Changxing had brought Lu Miaoga back, he began to arrange a family feast, which caused quite a stir in the Lu family. Congratulations to the great elder on his breakthrough to Foundation establishment, with a golden core on the horizon and a reputation that will certainly spread across the 4 seas. Great elder is powerful, Qingzhou Mountain will surely rise to even greater heights. Congratulations to father on Foundation establishment. On this day, as the family banquet commenced, Qingzhou Mountain was bedecked with lanterns and colorful banners, overflowing with joy as they celebrated Lu Changsheng's Foundation establishment feast. Lu Changxing, Lu Miaoga, Lu Miaohuan, Lu Miaoyun, Chu Zhenzhen, Ling Zixiao, and others seated in the place of honor, accepting the congratulations and celebrations of the guests. Even though it was a family banquet, the neighbors and smaller families still sent representatives early to present their gifts and congratulations. Several families brought their daughters to toast, hoping that Lu Changxing might take a liking to one. In response to this, Lu Changxing flatly refused. One reason was that he was too busy with a heap of important matters to handle. Furthermore, the quality of these women was mediocre. Most of them possessed lower-grade spiritual roots, and they no longer caught the eye of Lu Ancestor. He had now a 4th-grade spiritual root, with 153 children, and 39 of them possessed spiritual roots. Aside from Lu Qingshan, Lu Qingxian, Lu Wangshu, and Lu Pingan, who obtained 5th-grade spiritual roots through the Hope Gu, there were only 2 other children with 6th-grade spiritual roots. The rest were all possessed lower-grade spiritual roots. In such circumstances, Lu Changxing naturally wanted to practice selective breeding as much as possible. The mothers of his children had to have at least middle-grade spiritual roots, preferably 4th or 5th grade. This way, with his own 4th grade spiritual root and mother's with 4th grade spiritual roots, the likelihood that the children would have decent spiritual root talents was high. Otherwise, mindlessly reproducing wouldn't only be a waste of time, but it wouldn't be good for himself or for the children. Moreover, his children were gradually growing up. The task of having many offspring could be handed over to them. With the many children, many blessings system in place, when the children of Lu Changxing had their own offspring, the spiritual roots and cultivation levels of these grandchildren would also grant him bonuses. Although not as much as from his own offspring, diminishing by 50% each generation, once the children began to reproduce, this snowball effect would start rolling. In time, the effect could be many times better than him producing offspring by himself. He could then truly soar without effort. Immediately thereafter, Lu Changxing announced that his son, Lu Xianxia, was 19 this year. If there were any suitable young ladies, they could consider setting up a marriage. Under normal circumstances, with Lu Xianxia's 9th grade spiritual root, 4th level energy refinement cultivation level, and status as a lower grade puppet master, it would be difficult for him to marry a decent wife. Chapter 576, Family Reputation and Spiritual Land Inspection, 2-in-1, 1500 monthly tickets additional update, _4 However, with Lu Changxing, the 2nd-ranked talisman master and foundation establishment great cultivator as his father, these families were willing to marry their daughters to Lu Xianxia. In the end, Lu Xianxia and a girl with a 7th grade spiritual root from a smaller family took a liking to each other and nodded in agreement. For this, Lu Changxing directly gave away 3 2nd-rank spirit talismans as a dowry to settle the marriage. Faced with this generosity, the smaller family felt incredibly honored and flattered. You have to know, 3 2nd-rank spirit talismans were worth thousands of spirit stones. The value of such a dowry could not be considered anything but high. But to Lu Changxing, this was of little concern. His children were many, and in the future, most of them would need to marry, or even take concubines. And there were only so many families, big and small, around. There weren't enough female cultivators to marry everyone. In such a situation, it was only natural for him, as a father, to manage his reputation well. Only then would the surrounding families be willing to marry their female cultivators into his family. Perhaps in the future, many female loose cultivators wandering outside, upon hearing of his family's good reputation, would also be willing to marry into his household. Otherwise, with so many children, if everyone wanted to marry a fairy, establishing a family would be an enormous challenge in the future. This scene made many onlookers envious. As a 2nd-ranked talisman master and a foundation establishment great cultivator, he had the luxury to be capricious. Given that one son's engagement could warrant giving away talismans worth thousands of spirit stones as a dowry. This made everyone think that since the foundation establishment great cultivator, Lu Changxing, was unwilling to take concubines, they might as well set their sights on his children. And so, the foundation establishment family banquet ended in a lively and bustling atmosphere. Nevertheless, many from the Lu family who witnessed the banquet were somewhat surprised that Lu Changxing did not take any concubines or maids. They had even made bets beforehand, guessing how many concubines Lu Changxing would take this time. Evening. The night fell quietly, the moon shone like frost. In the courtyard with pavilions and towers amid rustling bamboo, goldfish frolicked, playfully distorting the moon's reflection in the pond. Hoo hoo hoo, the sound of the wind rose suddenly, howling as it passed, causing the jade-green bamboo in the courtyard to rustle melodically. Inside the chamber, a warm light suffused the air. From the head of the bed's incense burner, thick white threads of incense smoke curled up lazily, filling the room with a faint, tranquil fragrance. Zixiao, how did it go? Lu Changxing asked tenderly as he cradled Ling Zixiao, her hair disheveled, cheeks flushed, and delicate body limp and powerless. Today, while healing through dual cultivation with Ling Zixiao, he suddenly thought that since his yin-yang energies could nourish the nourishing elixir for Nangong Mealy, it might also have a healing effect. Therefore, he thought that using his yin-yang energies to nurture Ling Zixiao's Dao Foundation might also benefit her meridians and dantian. After all, the Dao Foundation is the very foundation of a foundation establishment cultivator. If he could nurture her Tao foundation, it might benefit her whole being. No sooner said than done. However, it was only when Lu Changxing used his yin-yang energies to nourish Ling Zixiao's Tao foundation that he learned. Due to her dragon roar physique, when Ling Zixiao had broken through to foundation establishment, her dragon roar physique erupted and yang energies scorched her body, leading to mana disarray, an unsteady foundation, and flaws in her Tao foundation. She formed a flawed Tao foundation. And it was rather poor for a flawed Tao foundation. It had several evident cracks and fissures, almost reaching the point of a shattered Tao foundation. Thank you, my lord, I can feel the cracks in my Tao foundation being nourished and repaired. Ling Zixiao nestled in Lu Changsheng's arms, her beautiful face blushing, and spoke softly. She had not expected Lu Changsheng to possess such origin source qi that could nurture and repair her Tao foundation. She had intended, once the issue with her dragon roar physique was fully resolved, to seek heavenly materials and earthly treasures to heal her Tao foundation. Unexpectedly, Lu Changsheng could directly solve this problem for her. This gave her another layer of understanding of the mystery surrounding Lu Changsheng. As long as it is effective, that's good. I've been so concerned about your dragon roar physique issue that I forgot to pay attention to the Tao foundation. Zishao, rest assured, almost every month, my origin source qi will be able to nurture your Tao foundation once. Over time, your Tao foundation can be fully recovered, Lu Changsheng said while gently stroking her smooth, white skin. Ling Zixiao hummed softly in response. After a moment, she lifted her lovely face and asked Lu Changsheng, My lord, you once mentioned establishing a family power. May I ask what preparations have been made so far? When they met, she had asked Lu Changsheng about his intentions for her. Lu Changsheng said he planned to establish a family power and needed an array master to stand guard. Now, they had been back at Qingzhou Mountain for over a month. Seeing Lu Changsheng busy every day without any preparation towards establishing a family, she couldn't help but be curious. Although in her eyes, Lu Changsheng had a shortcut. He could usurp Qingzhou Mountain for himself. But after being together for so long, she knew that he probably wouldn't do such a thing. I had planned, upon returning this time, to purchase a spiritual vein-blessed land from the Qingyun sect to establish as the family spirit land, or to inspect the situation of the surrounding families and see if any of them had lost an elder in the battle at Blackwater Pool and were looking to sell their family spirit land. But as you know, since coming back, I've been so busy I haven't had the time to investigate the spirit land situations around us. Moreover, given the current situation of the Lu family, it's not appropriate for me to branch out on my own, Lu Changsheng sighed slightly and said. In fact, he felt quite an urgency to establish his own family. First of all, learning about Jin Kingdom's invasion by the demon path in Jiuxiao Immortal City, he was reminded that if such a situation were to recur, it added a sense of urgency in his mind. Chapter 577, Family Reputation and Spiritual Land Inspection, 2-in-1, 1500 monthly tickets additional update, _5 He felt that he must enhance his strength as soon as possible and make a breakthrough to the core formation stage. However, Lu Changsheng was keenly aware that relying solely on his cultivation would certainly not work. Even now, with a 4th-grade spiritual root, a Gengjin body constitution, and supreme condensation elixirs at his disposal, it would still take him several decades to break through to core formation. Therefore, if he wanted to quickly improve his strength, he still had to rely on marrying, taking concubines, having children, raising them, and letting the children have more children. If he established his own family power, his children would then have a better growth environment. Whether in cultivation or in starting a family and establishing a career, everything would be much simpler and more conducive to raising children and letting the children have more children. Secondly, in his system space, he had the luminous treasure tree, the Mount Sumeru Tree King, and the spiritual ice spring. These items had to be used on his own family's ancestral lands. Otherwise, these things could only collect dust in the system space. As for using them on Qingzhou Mountain, it was completely out of consideration. The luminous treasure tree alone would be alright. But the Mount Sumeru Tree King and the spiritual ice spring were of significant importance. He would definitely not reveal them lightly to outsiders. So, he had to establish his family's ancestral land. Moreover, with his family's ancestral land and the Mount Sumeru Tree King, it would be equivalent to having a nascent soul immortal in charge of his family, adding a sense of security. It was the issues he realized upon returning to Qingzhou Mountain. With his current middle-stage foundation establishment cultivation level, if he fully absorbed nature's spiritual energy at the spiritual eye spring, it would definitely alert Lu Yuanzhong to something amiss. Lu Yuanzhong would realize that he hadn't just broken through to the foundation establishment stage. Then, when Lu Miaoge managed to reach foundation establishment and Ling Zixiao recovered and started to cultivate, for foundation establishment cultivators would put a certain burden on Qingzhou Mountain's spiritual energy. Under these circumstances, if another Lu family member reached foundation establishment, or if there was a need to activate a great formation, there would be a problem of insufficient spiritual energy affecting the operations. So it would be better to establish his own family as soon as possible. Through Qingyun's sect, purchase spiritual vein blessed land. Investigate the surrounding family situation. Ling Zixiao thoughtfully nodded at these words. As an array master, she often arranged formations for others, including great family formations, and she had come into contact with many families and understood quite a lot about these matters. She naturally knew that the first step to establishing a family was a suitable ancestral land. Without the family's ancestral land, the idea of establishing a family was completely nonsensical. Buying ancestral lands for sale by neighboring families was naturally better than acquiring spiritual vein-blessed lands from the Immortal sects. She was very clear that the Immortal sects' spiritual lands were often rented out to loose cultivators as residencies. To use them for establishing a family would require building from scratch, which would be a troublesome task and consume time and resources. If my lord doesn't have the time, this matter can be handed over to me. I haven't anything significant to do at home anyway and could investigate to understand the situation of the surrounding family's ancestral lands. To see if there is any suitable land available, which families have ancestral lands for sale. After pondering for a moment, Ling Zixiao spoke softly. She didn't bring up the matter of Lu Changxing establishing a family out of boredom. It was also through her observations over the past days. She could tell that Lu Yuanzhong, the Lu family ancestor, didn't have much life left. And Lu Changxing, in the prime of his life and an external member of the Lu family, had over 100 descendants. In such a situation, if the Lu family disciples showed no thoughts or opinions about Lu Changxing, it was absolutely impossible. So why continue to nest in the tiny Qingzhou Mountain? In her eyes, Qingzhou Mountain was but a small pond. How could it contain Lu Changxing the flood dragon? Alright, since that is the case, I'll trouble you with this matter, Zixiao. I indeed have many things to attend to in the coming times and simply cannot be distracted, Lu Changxing said, smiling and nodding in response to her words. He had a myriad of matters to deal with next and truly no time to attend to these. As for letting someone else handle it, he also didn't know who to entrust such tasks to at the moment. Since Ling Zixiao was willing to share his worries, he saw no issue with it. In addition to the family's ancestral land, are there any other aspects you need to prepare for, my lord? If there are any problems, you can discuss them with me. I used to deal with many family powers when I was in the Immortal City, arranging formations for them and managing the spirit veins, so I do understand quite a bit about family matters, Ling Zixiao said softly, her pale face flushing slightly. Oh? Surprised by her words, Lu Changxing raised his eyebrows. He hadn't expected Ling Zixiao to have insight into these matters, which was a pleasant surprise indeed. Immediately he shared his own thoughts, concerns, and considerations with Ling Zixiao. Actually, in terms of establishing a family, he was more or less able to handle the main issues such as ancestral land, family formations, finances, and even relationships. The real problems still lay with people. Currently, he indeed had many children. But among them, including Lu Pingon, there were only 5 with a spiritual root who were of adult age. These children were currently unable to contribute significantly to the family's construction. Therefore, he still had to rely on his wives and maids. Yet these wives and maids could only be used to manage family affairs. He couldn't expect them to do other tasks, especially those that were arduous and laborious. But once a family was established, There would be basic tasks such as managing the spirit fields and medicinal gardens. These required people to handle them. Also, his plan to build a puppet factory would need a lot of workers. These issues were not ones that could be solved in a short time. Hearing all this, Ling Zixiao chuckled softly. Her jade-like fingers traced circles on Lu Changsheng's chest and she said, "My lord is really overthinking, making things seem troublesome." Chapter 578, Family Reputation and Spiritual Land Inspection, 2-in-1, 1500 monthly tickets additional update, _60. I would appreciate Zixiao's guidance, Lu Changsheng said as he held the warm and soft jade in his arms, shifting to a more comfortable position and asked, "After establishing a family, why rush to handle all matters and prepare everything in such haste? Moreover, how could all these tasks be completed at once? What your lordship has mentioned, all these tasks require time to be completed step by step. Currently, you're not short of spirit stones and you have the reputation of a second-grade talisman master. If willing, you could recruit spiritual plant masters and beast tamers. It shouldn't take long to find people responsible for the spiritual fields, the medicinal gardens, and the breeding of spiritual beasts. As for the spirit farmers and menials, there are as many as you could want. In the cultivation world, there are plenty of people willing to take on such jobs. Regarding the family business and resource extraction, if there is a lack of manpower, it's not a big deal to cooperate with other families or forces. Let them do the mining, and we'll take a share of the profits. Once we have the people available, we can take over the operations." Ling Zixiao shook her head and said with a soft laugh. She didn't expect Lu Changsheng to be struggling with such matters. "It seems I've overthought the matter and made it too complex." Having heard this, Lu Changsheng immediately realized that he had indeed been overthinking and complicating matters. Indeed, as Ling Zixiao had said, after establishing the family, it was impossible to have everything arranged all at once. These unimportant matters could wait until after the family was established, considering the initial years as the preparatory phase. After all, he was not short of spirit stones during this period and could use his current ones to invest in and develop the spiritual land. As long as the family was gradually getting on the right track and the children were also growing up, these problems would be easily solved. Your lordship is indeed overthinking these matters. If Lu Lang finds these matters burdensome, let your concubine handle them, Ling Zixiao continued. In recent days, she had been feeling quite bored on Qingzhou Mountain and was looking for some things to do, to contribute to Lu Changsheng's cause. At the same time, she could also use this to gauge Lu Changsheng's attitude towards her, to see if he fully trusted her and was truly sincere. Since that is the case, I'll trouble you with it, Zixiao. These days, I need to help Sister Miaoga change her cultivation technique and prepare for her foundation establishment, so I don't have much time, Lu Changsheng said with a delighted expression. Given that Ling Zixiao had established herself in Jiuxiao Immortal City on her own, he believed these matters would be no issue for her at all. Changing cultivation techniques? Ling Zixiao was somewhat surprised when she heard this. Generally, a cultivator wouldn't switch cultivation techniques, because changing cultivation techniques not only wasted time but also resulted in a loss of cultivation level. The higher the cultivation level, the greater the loss, which was a significant waste of time. Lu Miaoga was currently at the 9th level of energy refinement and about to undertake her foundation establishment. If she changed her cultivation technique, not to mention the substantial loss, she would at least be delayed by a year. Yes, on my recent journey, I acquired a cultivation technique that is suitable for Sister Miaoga. And the opportunity to treat your dragon roar physique lies within this technique. Therefore, I need to prepare Sister Miaoga to switch to this cultivation technique in the coming days, Lu Changsheng said aloud. He directly revealed the matter of Lu Miaoga changing her cultivation technique. After all, he had previously mentioned that bringing Lu Miaoga back would likely solve Ling Zixiao's dragon roar physique issue. Now that he was talking about changing the cultivation technique, it was also a way to explain the situation. It would be hard for both Lu Lang and Miaoga. Ling Zixiao was slightly taken aback when she heard this. She hadn't expected that Lu Miaoga's switch to a new cultivation technique would be related to resolving her own dragon roar physique. This caused the emotions in her heart to stir slightly. No problem. Lu Changsheng chuckled lightly and then said, by the way, regarding matters like assessing the neighboring families or recruiting talents, if there's a need to spend spirit stones, Zishao, you can speak directly to me. Before leaving Jiuxiao Immortal City, the sponsorship from 5 well-intentioned robber cultivators had once again filled his storage bag, so for the time being he wasn't worried about spending money. I still have plenty of spirit stones. Besides, as your wife and partner, I should naturally contribute to the family's establishment. Ling Zixiao said with a light smile. Good. Upon hearing her words, Lu Changxing nodded his head and didn't stand on ceremony with Ling Zixiao. Everyone needs to be needed by others. Sometimes, letting them help out more and take care of little things can also foster a deeper relationship between two people. After entrusting the establishment of the family to Ling Zixiao, Lu Changxing focused his whole attention on Lu Maiage's transition to the cultivation of the water of virtue technique. Back in Green River Marketplace, in Rui Prefecture, Lu Miaoge had already started delving into this cultivation technique. However, many parts still required Lu Changsheng's guidance to unravel and explain in detail. Thinking about his own plans to establish a family, Lu Changxing felt it was necessary to inform Lu Miaoge. Otherwise, if he mentioned it after Lu Miaoge had just completed her foundation establishment, it would seem as if he had always been intentionally hiding it, which could affect their marital relationship. Establishing a family? Lu Miaoge showed no great surprise upon hearing Lu Changxing speak of his plans to establish his own family. During the many years as his wife, she had already sensed that her husband didn't fully consider Qingzhou Mountain his home. Previously, when she learned that Lu Changxing had refused to become the patriarch of the family, she vaguely guessed that Lu Changxing might be thinking of leaving or starting his own clan. However, she wouldn't bring up the subject on her own. When I heard that you, Changxing, refused to be the family patriarch, I began to suspect. It's fine, Qingzhou Mountain is ultimately too small. If you, Xianxia, wish to establish a family, you can directly tell father and the old patriarch now. I believe they would understand and can offer some help. Lu Miaoge said with a gentle voice. If in the past she thought her husband was extraordinary, seeing the orthodox level cultivation techniques, foundation establishment elixirs, and foundation establishment spirit objects he provided, she understood that Lu Changxing was even more exceptional than she had imagined. Such a person could not possibly be limited to Qingzhou Mountain. Given the current situation of the family, how could I bring up starting my own clan with my father-in-law and the old patriarch? I just wanted to give you, Sister Miaoge, a heads up that I have this intention and plan. After Sister Miaoge breaks through to the foundation establishment, you might relieve Elder Yuan Zhong's injury and help stabilize Qingzhou Mountain. Then I can go out and establish my own clan. Seeing that Lu Miaoge did not mind, Lu Changxing felt a sense of relief and voiced his thoughts. Lu Miaoge nodded gently in response. She inquired about Lu Changsheng's current thoughts and shared some tips with him about establishing a family. She expressed that she would have someone keep an eye out for nearby families willing to sell their spiritual lands. After chatting idly for a long time, Lu Changxing continued to guide Lu Miaoge in her cultivation of the water of virtue technique. At the same time, he began cultivating the Tai seed way art, preparing to condense the Tai Dao seed. Chapter 579. Tai Cultivation, the Situation of the Spiritual Land. _1 month later. Condense. Lu Changsheng's eyes suddenly opened, his hands forming seals rapidly. Spiritual blood surged throughout his body, mana flowed, and the yin-yang 5 elements foundation base trembled continuously. Hum hum hum. Within the Qi ocean core, the yin-yang fish formed by the yin-yang energies was frantically swallowing and spitting the origin source within his body, along with the surrounding nature's spiritual energy, gradually forming a crystal-clear, semi-liquid, semi-solidified, soybean-sized golden seed. Phew! It has finally formed. Seeing this Tai Dao seed take shape, Lu Changxing let out a long, weary breath. This Tai Dao seed was not easy to condense. It had cost him more than a month of time. It also caused no small loss to his spirit, mana, and the foundation of his Dao. He estimated that it would take 3 to 4 months, or even half a year, to recover. However, cultivating the Tai Shengshui Ju required this step to be inevitable. If not for this seed, Lu Miaoge would not be able to practice the water of virtue technique. So, in his view, the price was acceptable. It was just a loss of vitality, which he would recover from with some rest. Lu Changxing did not immediately take this Dao seed to Lu Miaoge. He took out an elixir medicine and swallowed it down, regulating his condition through cultivation. 3 days later, Lu Changxing walked out of his cave dwelling, heading to the nearby one. This cave was originally arranged for Ling Zixiao to cultivate. However, due to the peculiarities of Ling Zixiao's dragon roar physique, meridians, and dantian, she temporarily did not need this cave. Therefore, Lu Changxing mentioned it to Lu Yuanzhong, and they let Lu Miaoge use this place for daily cultivation. Changxing. Inside the quiet and elegant cave dwelling, Lu Miaoge, dressed in a plain white robe, was cultivating in an upright sitting position. From afar, she resembled a celestial snow lotus, pure and detached from this world. Hearing the movement, Lu Miaoge opened her beautiful eyes and looked towards Lu Changxing, gently calling out his name. In this period, she had nearly comprehended the water of virtue technique. But because she lacked the Tai Dao seed, she could not start practicing it, and had been honing her spiritual power within. Now, the spiritual power of the Saturn Solar Sword technique she possessed had been refined to be round and perfect, Rui, ready for foundation establishment at any time. Sister Miaoge, I have condensed the Tai Dao seed. You can start practicing the water of virtue technique now, Lu Changxing said, clasping her hand, his face showing a smile as he stepped forward. Changxing, you've worked hard, said Lu Miaoge, noticing that Lu Changxing's complexion had lost some of its color. Her lips pressed together lightly, expressing concern. Although she had only studied the water of virtue technique, she also had some understanding of the Tai seed way art. She knew that condensing the Tai Dao seed required the consumption of spirit, vitality, and the essence of one's Dao. It would cause certain injuries to the one cultivating the seed. It's nothing serious, you'll recover after some rest, Lu Changxing chuckled lightheartedly, not worrying at all. Looking at the serene face before him, gentle and bright, he spoke directly, Sister Miaoge, I will now transfer the Dao seed to you. After saying this, he gently embraced her slim shoulders, leaning in and capturing her tender and luscious lips. Transferring the Tai Dao seed to someone else was quite simple. It could be done just by mouth-to-mouth transfer. As the familiar breath washed over her, Lu Miaoge's eyelashes tremored, her arms enclosing Lu Changxing, tenderly responding to him. Strands of sweet fragrance filled the space between their lips and teeth. After a long while, Lu Miaoge's cheeks flushed, her body felt weak, and her breathing sped up, intending to remind Lu Changxing that they ought to be transferring the Dao seed. Hearing her tender moan, Lu Changxing's wandering hands stopped, realizing he had forgotten about the Dao seed transfer. Immediately, he activated the Tai seed way art, allowing the soybean-sized Tai Dao seed in his Qi ocean core to rise and flow gently into Lu Miaoge's mouth. As soon as the Dao seed entered her mouth, Lu Miaoge immediately felt the immense and vigorous energy within. Feeling that the energy contained in this Tai Dao seed was much more robust than her own spiritual power, is this the perfect foundation base? Lu Miaoge murmured to herself. She knew that the strength of the Tai Dao seed depended on the spirit, vitality, and foundation of the one who formed it. Such an extraordinary seed in her mouth indicated that Lu Changxing's foundation of mana was even stronger than she had imagined. Sister Miaoge, Lu Changxing said as he let go of Lu Miaoge, reminding her to merge with the Dao seed. Hearing this, Lu Miaoge quickly came back to her senses and did not dare to delay. She sat down cross-legged and began circulating the water of virtue technique. Lu Changxing also settled down beside her, operating the Tai seed way art, slowly infusing his mana into Lu Miaoge's body, aiding her refinement of the Dao seed. Tai Shengshui Ju. As both practiced their techniques, they transformed into the Tai Shengshui Ju. Their energies merged, allowing the Dao seed to enter Lu Miaoge's Qi ocean core slowly. As soon as the Tai Dao seed entered Lu Maiage's lake of qi, a powerful and vast energy, a surge of mana, began to flow and diffuse within her body. It cleansed her organs, meridians, flesh, bones, and spiritual power. It allowed her body and spiritual power to become compatible with the Dao seed and Lu Changsheng's mana. As the energy of the Dao seed spread, Lu Miaoge felt her body flooded with strength, enough to attempt foundation establishment immediately. Naturally, she would not do so and continued to focus and circulate the water of virtue technique. During this process, under the influence of the Tai Dao seed, the water of virtue technique began to operate on its own, undergoing subtle changes. As the technique circulated continuously, subtle improvements emerged, gradually forming a unique cultivation technique. Lu Miaoge knew this was the Tai Shengshui Ju, the most remarkable aspect of this orthodox-level cultivation technique. Chapter 580. Tai plants the Dao, the state of the spirit land. The water of virtue technique cultivators will adapt themselves based on the Tai Dao seed condensed by the practitioners of the Tai Dao seed technique. Thus, they will acquire some of the spell techniques and mana characteristics of the seed cultivators, forming a brand new cultivation method. Only in this way will the two be able to cultivate together in the future and nurture the vital essence of all things, refining their Dao foundation. Time passed, and Lu Maiage's internal breath settled. She looked at the golden Dao seed within her Qi ocean core. She could clearly feel that, through this Dao seed, there was an inexplicable connection between her and Lu Changsheng. Through the Dao seed, she could vaguely sense their respective locations. Moreover, Lu Changsheng could replenish her mana through the Dao seed. She could also supplement Lu Changsheng's mana through the Dao seed. Changsheng. Lu Miaoge opened her beautiful eyes, gazing tenderly at Lu Changsheng. She indicated that the Dao seed and the water of virtue technique were almost complete. Next, what she needed to do was to convert all her spiritual power into mastery of the water of virtue technique. And as Lu Changsheng had previously said, since the Saturn Solar Sword technique and the cultivation technique Lu Changsheng practiced were inherited from the same line, her conversion of spiritual power was not likely to suffer great loss. Good. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng nodded and voiced several issues Lu Miaoge needed to pay attention to in her next cultivation session. He instructed her to ask him if she encountered any problems during cultivation. After leaving Lu Miaoge, he went to check on his son Lu Pingan's cultivation progress at his small courtyard. Pingan, how is it going? Lu Changsheng asked his son about his cultivation of the 5 luminaries' sword scripture. Dad? Lu Pingan scratched his head, somewhat embarrassedly discussing his cultivation experience. It had been over a month, and although he had made initial progress and could sense nature's spiritual energy, he always felt clumsy and struggled while cultivating. Struggling? Lu Changsheng frowned slightly upon hearing this. Why would he struggle with cultivating at the mere stage of drawing energy into his body? After all, Lu Pingan was said to possess a 5th-grade spiritual root. Could there be a problem with the man-made spiritual root imparted by the Gu of Hope? He said to Lu Pingan, "Can you show me your cultivation now?" Yes. Upon hearing this, Lu Pingan immediately sat down and began the process of drawing in spiritual energy. Lu Changsheng silently observed Lu Pingan cultivating by his side. About a quarter of an hour later, Lu Pingan gradually entered the right state. The spiritual energy from the surroundings slowly gathered towards him, entering his body. Then this spiritual energy traveled along with the circulation of the cultivation method through his meridians, completing a cycle. This circulatory process was indeed slower than the average for a 5th-grade spiritual root. Immediately, Lu Changsheng reached a conclusion. Unsuitable. Lu Pingan was not very suited to this cultivation method. For peripheral sect-level methods like the 5 luminaries sword scripture, there are certain requirements for one's disposition, perception, and natural talent. If there's a mismatch, even if one has entered the gate of cultivation, the process will be somewhat forced and clumsy. Pingan, that's enough. Lu Changsheng's voice echoed in Lu Pingan's mind. Dad, I've let you down. Lu Pingan looked at his father, ashamed to admit his poor performance. his father had finally set him on the path to cultivation, and here he was, performing so poorly at the very first step, thoroughly ashamed. It's okay, it seems you don't have much talent in the way of sword scriptures. You're not very suited to this technique. Lu Changxing waved it off, not overly concerned. Initially, when he first obtained the 7 Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword Art, he intended to make it the foundational cultivation method for his clan. But as he grew more knowledgeable about the cultivation world and his own cultivation techniques became more extensive, he gradually discarded this idea. After all, not everyone is suitable to practice sword techniques. Lu Maiage's practice of the Saturn Solar Sword technique was also only moderate in his eyes. If Lu Pingan was not suitable for this technique, naturally he should switch to another one. Do you have any thoughts on this? Lu Changxing inquired. I will follow whatever you arrange, Dad. Lu Pingan spoke solemnly. When Lu Changxing first taught him a cultivation method, he had asked whether Lu Pingan liked sword techniques, to which he naturally nodded and affirmed, claiming he liked them, partly because he had heard and read many stories about sword immortals since childhood. On the other hand, he had once asked Qin Yi why she wanted to become a great sword immortal, and she had replied that it's because sword cultivators are powerful. The largest immortal sect in Jiang country, Heavenly Sword Sect, consisted of sword cultivators. Therefore, her dream was to join the Heavenly Sword Sect and become an unrivaled sword immortal. This also made Lu Pingan somewhat yearn to become a sword cultivator. But now, realizing he had no aptitude for it, he did not insist on continuing. In that case, then, Lu Changxing pondered, considering which cultivation method to give his son. Among the methods he currently possessed were the 7 Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword Scripture, 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art, Yin-Yang Harmony Technique, 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture, and Tai Shengshui Ju. The 7 Luminaries were definitely unsuitable for Lu Pingan. If the 5 Luminaries did not fit well, it was impossible to consider practicing the 7 Luminaries. As for the exquisite level cultivation methods derived from the 7 Luminaries, in his view, they were perhaps worth a try. For example, the Town Star Saturn Sword Technique. Given Lu Pingan's somewhat straightforward nature, he should fare much better practicing this sword technique. But considering that this method was ultimately inherited from the 5 Luminaries' sword scripture, even if it could be slightly better, it probably wouldn't make a significant difference. As for other methods, like the 99 Mystical Talisman scripture, it was clearly unsuitable. This talisman path required a great deal of perceptiveness. Having spent time together, he knew his son had, at best, average perception. The Tai Shengshui Ju belonged to a partner-oriented cultivation method, needing 2 people to cultivate it, and thus Lu Pingan could not practice it alone. Chapter 581. Tai plants the Tao, the state of the spirit land. The Yin-Yang Harmony technique belonged to the heretical path of cultivation methods. Although he wasn't opposed to passing on this heretical cultivation method, Lu Pingan's personality clearly wasn't a good fit. Why not try the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art? A thought struck Lu Changxing. In fact, he had always wanted to pass the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art to one of his children. Because if his children practiced it, it could enhance his own power. If he were to help a child refine a magical treasure and assist in cultivating the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art, then it would be tantamount to doubling the benefits of a single magical treasure. But this technique was not only difficult to practice, but also extremely dangerous. If one were even slightly overzealous in the process, it was easy to make mistakes. This could lead to the body being unable to withstand the effects of the sacrifice, leading to disintegration and demise. Therefore, the son who cultivated this technique must be calm and tight-lipped. In his view, Lu Pingan was quite suitable in this regard. Furthermore, as a martial arts expert, Lu Pingan already had a foundation in body refining. However, the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art is more of a supplementary body refining technique and not truly to the path of body cultivation. To cultivate this art, one must first draw qi into the body. After thinking for a moment, Lu Changxing realized that at this stage, Lu Pingan was simply not capable of cultivating the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art. At once, He let Lu Pingan choose from several techniques he had previously acquired from robber cultivators. In his more than 2 decades in the cultivation world, he had met many kind-hearted people and obtained several good techniques. The best among them was naturally the Red Phoenix True Scripture. Although this technique only went up to the core formation stage, it was, after all, a peripheral sect-level technique. Next, there was the exquisite level Purple True Solar Scripture acquired from 5 robber cultivators in the Jiuxiao Immortal City, as well as another exquisite level technique, Greenwood Sunfire Technique, he had obtained previously. As for high-grade cultivation techniques, he also had 4 or 5 of them. Lu Pingan, upon seeing these techniques, scratched his head uncertain which to learn. Let's go with this one. Seeing his son's indecisive face, Lu Changxing directly handed over the Purple True Solar Scripture. The reason he chose this technique was that it offered a cultivation method that combined magical dual cultivation. 70% was dedicated to qi refinement, and 30% to body refinement. This would be a good way to see if Lu Pingan had any talent in the area of body refinement. All right. Upon hearing this, Lu Pingan immediately nodded his agreement. However, since Lu Pingan couldn't read the jade slip yet, his father had to understand the technique and teach it to him. It took more than an hour for Lu Changxing to explain the first layer of the cultivation method, drawing qi into the body, and the circulation through the meridians. All right, practice well, and if you have any questions, come and ask me later. If I'm not around, you can go to your Aunt Zishao for help. Lu Changxing thought for a moment and then added. He planned to let Ling Zixiao have a look at the technique later on. When he was not present, she could provide some guidance. Yes, father. Lu Pingan took his words seriously and nodded earnestly. Determined in his heart, he resolved to make this cultivation a success. After seeing to Lu Pingan's matters, Lu Changxing went to the backyard to spend time with his wives and children. Lu Miaoyun brought over several letters, indicating that in recent times, many people had written to him. Lu Changxing glanced through the letters. His good friends Han Lin and Zhao Qingqing had written to congratulate him on achieving foundation establishment. His brother-in-law Xia Zhiang also sent a letter offering congratulations for his foundation establishment. Besides these 3, there were also 2 friends he had made at the Nine Dragons Market, Yu Maoqing and Gao He. Apart from congratulating him on his foundation establishment, Gao He also reported on the status of the Peace Talisman Hall. He mentioned that since Lu Changxing's departure, the store's business had declined due to a lack of second-rank talismans being replenished. If Lu Changxing had the time, he could supply some spirit talismans. Having read the letters, Lu Changxing replied to each one, instructing Lu Miaoyun to send them back on his behalf. He also took out a stack of spirit talismans and handed them to Lu Miaocheng, instructing him to arrange for their delivery to the Red Leaf Valley Market. A portion was for the Peace Talisman Hall. The rest was for the Lu family. After all, as the Lu family's great elder and a second-grade talisman master, he still had to contribute something. After all, these spirit talismans would eventually be converted into contribution points and credited to his name. After he had dealt with these matters and saw that it was getting late, Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao engaged in dual cultivation to deepen their affection. Afterwards, Zixiao, I may be quite busy in the coming time and won't always be around, he said. I've given Pingan the Purple True Solar Scripture for his cultivation. If he encounters any issues during the process, guide him a little, Lu Changxing said, his arms around the soft and tender Ling Zixiao, whose skin was white with a rosy underglow. All right, my lord, rest assured, Ling Zixiao replied in a gentle and delicate voice. Immediately afterward, Ling Zixiao and Lu Changxing began discussing the matter of the family's spirit land. In the past month, she had made a brief inquiry into the Qingyun region and the situation of the family powers. At the same time, she had also learned which families were preparing to sell their family spirit lands and relocate completely. Because the Qingyun sect had a certain rule. After a great battle such as the one at Blackwater Pool, there should be 3 years of stable development, with no invasions or outbreaks of conflict allowed. Therefore, many families who lost their ancestors in battle were still struggling, readying themselves for a last-ditch effort. They hoped to rise to the foundation establishment level and stabilize their families' situations. As such, only 2 or 3 families were interested in selling their spirit lands. But Ling Zixiao was not very satisfied with these families. Because the size of these families' spirit lands, their locations, the nearby marketplaces, and other such factors were all relatively poor. At present, the spirit lands of these families willing to sell, as well as those who lost their ancestral powers, are all pretty average, she said. My lord, you mentioned before that it is possible to buy Spirit Vein Dojo through Qingyun sect? If my lord has connections within the Qingyun sect, purchasing a high-quality spiritual vein-blessed land, even if we must build from scratch, is still worth considering for the long term, she suggested. Ling Zixiao spoke up, conveying her thoughts. As an array master from Jiuxiao Immortal City, her standards were naturally quite high. She considered the spirit lands of these families that might be for sale average and somewhat beneath her concern. Even Qingzhou Mountain, in her opinion, was quite average and not very impressive. Regarding the spirit vein dojos of the Qingyun sect, I am not very clear myself, Lu Changxing said. All I have is a Qingyun order, which represents a favor owed by the Qingyun sect, capable of making certain demands. I plan to use the Qingyun order to obtain a qualification to purchase a spirit land if we don't find a suitable one, Lu Changxing revealed, not hiding the matter of the Qingyun order. Qingyun order, Ling Zixiao pondered upon hearing this and nodded thoughtfully. In that case, my lord could find out in advance which spirit vein dojos are currently for sale by the Qingyun sect, she proposed. I will also continue to investigate the situation of the nearby spiritual vein-blessed lands, Ling Zixiao continued to say. Very well, thank you for your hard work, Zixiao, Lu Changxing responded with a nod. After dinner, he planned to write a letter to ask Xianxia if she had any knowledge in this regard. After spending time with his wives and children, Lu Changxing did not head straight for seclusion. Instead, he began to craft third-rank talismans. His plan was to first create some third-rank talismans to carry on his person. Moreover, during this period, he wanted to take care of his concubines who were currently trying to conceive. Previously, at the second-rank talisman master ceremony, he took in 2 concubines and 5 maids. All 7 women had only given birth to 1 child each, and after such a long rest, they were already able to have a second one. Although he was intent on having quality offspring, since the women were already in his harem, it was natural to want them to conceive. Furthermore, including Lu Pingon, he now had 39 children with spiritual roots. If he could have 1 more child with a spiritual root, that would bring the total number of offspring with spiritual roots to 40, and perhaps that would prompt the system to give him some child money. Besides, the spiritual roots of these 7 women were quite decent. There were 2 with a 5th grade spiritual root, and 1 with a 6th grade spiritual root. Yet when he thought about the 40th child, Lu Changsheng's mind once again went to the child in Nangong Mili's womb. As a nascent soul immortal, there was a high probability that her child would have a spiritual root, even a good one at that. If the child in her belly was born, it would very likely be the 40th child with a spiritual root. Sigh. After glancing at the system's offspring tab and seeing that the child was still there, Lu Changsheng exhaled lightly, slightly reassured. Yet he couldn't help worrying about Nangong Mili and Meng Xiaoquan's current situation. Chapter 582, Fusion Spirit Pill, Lu Miage's Heavenly Foundation Establishment. 2-in-1, 2,000 monthly ticket bonus, _1 mists veiled the mountain peak. Atop it, a fierce and terrifying blood jade spider perched, its body shining with a sinister red glow. In its pupils, there reflected a spirit pool, clear as a mirror, and a white-robed maiden sitting by its side, her hands wrapped around her knees. The girl had delicate features and an ethereal temperament, her black hair cascading loosely down her back, staring into the spirit pool at her own reflection, lost in tranquility. After a long while, the girl came back to herself with a slight sigh. With her hands, she gently stirred the water, causing ripples to dance across the calm surface of the pool. Then, the maiden slipped off her embroidered shoes and stockings, revealing a pair of delicate, round feet, white as uncarved jade. As her toes gently touched the water, the instant they met the surface, they playfully curled, casting tiny ripples. The sparkling water flowed, enveloping the girl's fair and lustrous feet, covering her delicate and exquisite ankles, bringing a look of contentment to her face. Suddenly, the girl playfully wiggled her feet in the water, causing droplets to sprinkle out like round, glistening beads. Under the sunlight, her snow-white feet in the shimmering pool water looked like treasures agleam, crystal clear. Xiaochan. At that moment, not far away, a devastatingly beautiful woman with a seductive face, previously sitting with closed eyes, opened her eyes and stood up, calling out softly to the girl. She wore a gorgeous purple dress that draped over a figure sinuously seductive, with curves that were nothing short of stunning. Proud and supreme, her bosom was difficult to contain, and her waist was slender and willowy, barely a handful when grasped. Beneath that slender waist, the lines shifted dramatically, showcasing her round and voluptuous rear, explosively seductive. Though the woman bore a seductive allure throughout her being, her eyes held a commanding presence that was intimidating. She emitted an icy, overbearing elegance, a regal authority that made others feel shamed before her. Master? Meng Xiaochan, hearing her master's voice, turned her head to look at Nangong Mili. Seeing her master's proud bearing, she couldn't help but feel a tinge of envy. Xiaochan, it's time to go. Nangong Mili released a breath, gazing towards the horizon, she spoke. Her slender phoenix eyes glimmered with an entrancing magic. Master, have you recovered? Meng Xiaochan pressed her lips together and inquired with concern upon hearing this. I have recovered around 70 to 80%. Staying here for a full recovery would take too much time. Nangong Mili took a deep breath, her chest rising proudly as she spoke softly. In her voice, her palm unconsciously stroked her flat belly. She knew that if she continued to recuperate, the child within her would eventually affect her strength. Should danger arise, it would be exceedingly troublesome. Moreover, she was acutely aware that the Lockhart goo was subtly influencing her. Thus, she needed to return to the Five Poisons cult in Jin Kingdom at the earliest. Only back at the cult could she give birth to the child in peace. Only then would she have the conditions to give her child an advantage even in the womb. Additionally, the Five Poisons cult's unique goo insect, the phoenix goo, possessed the effect of rebirth from ashes, washing away all blemishes. It had the power to counter the effects of the Lockhart goo. Thinking of how under the influence of the Lockhart goo, she developed feelings for Lu Changxing in spite of all his demeaning treatment and trampling, Nangong Mili couldn't help but feel a surge of shame, anger, and murderous intent, wishing to flay and dismember Lu Changxing. Even if Nangong Mili were to fall in love with someone, it would never be in such a manner. That dog of a man must possess a certain peerless Taoist body, she mused. Otherwise, with his mere foundation establishment cultivation, he definitely shouldn't have such ability. Nangong Mili's beautiful eyes narrowed, emitting a chilling clarity, as she recalled how Lu Changxing healed her with the yin-yang energies. Her true elixir, nourished by Lu Changxing, had begun to manifest a trace of the golden core charm. She resolved that once she had fully recovered and dealt with the Lockhart goo, she would capture that dog of a man, Lu Changxing, and bring him back to the Five Poisons cult. To humiliate him in every possible way, compelling him to nourish her golden core. Not only would this be her revenge, but it would also elevate her true elixir to the immortal golden core. But as she thought about the process of nurturing the golden core, she recalled those times she wished to forget, and resentment tinged her slender phoenix eyes, her heart fluttering with indefinable agitation and her emotions churning. Huff! Nangong Mili steadied her tumultuous emotions. Looking at the misty sky bead within her, her lovely lips pursed slightly, and her body surged with a glow. She transformed into a charming and graceful lady. But the seductive and bewitching temperament that pervaded her vanished without trace. Let's go, she said to her disciple Meng Xiaochan in a soft voice. Though she knew that her affliction with the Lockhart goo was related to Meng Xiaochan, she understood that Meng Xiaochan was even more deeply affected by the goo. Her actions were understandable under those circumstances. Moreover, the fact that Meng Xiaochan managed to confess about the Lockhart goo to her master indicated that her feelings for her master were not weaker than the Gus effects. In such a situation, she naturally wouldn't blame Meng Xiaochuan too harshly. Yes, master, Meng Xiaochuan, seeing her own master's transformation, promptly gathered up the formation. Then, she touched the purple bracelet on her wrist, causing her appearance and temperament to change. Soon after, the two of them rode a cloud veil, turned into a streak of light, and vanished from the mountaintop. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. During this time, Lu Changsheng had his concubines bear his children and then began his seclusion to cultivate and forge the 99 mysterious true strategy. This artifact was exceedingly complex, even more so than the 7 luminaries' heart lamp, which was his life-bound magic treasure. Chapter 583, Fusion Spirit Pill, Lu Mayage's Heavenly Foundation Establishment. 2-in-1, 2,000 monthly ticket bonus. The true artifact is composed of 129,699 profound truth tokens. It can change its appearance at will, forming a talisman formation. However, the one Lu Changsheng made was a simplified version. It consists of 10,800 profound truth tokens. For Lu Changsheng, 10,800 tokens were already enough for use. At present, his divine sense mana was not capable of controlling 129,600 profound truth tokens. Even 10,800 was a bit too much. 99 profound truth strategy, form. Inside the cave dwelling, Lu Changsheng's mana circulated within him as he formed hand seals. One could see that around him, jet black iron tokens engraved with spiritual patterns and flowing with mysterious light emerged, rotating around him and aligning neatly. His hands continuously formed seals, inputting spell after spell into the iron tokens. Eventually, Lu Changsheng flicked his fingertips, and a drop of essence blood flew out. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Instantly, all the iron tokens converged towards the essence blood, forming a jet-black iron tactic streaming with mysterious light. The iron tactic changed its shape in Lu Changsheng's hands, resembling a jade token, an iron rod, a disc, and finally taking the form of a jet-black folding fan. This was one of the abilities of the 99 profound truth strategy. It could change the appearance of the talisman instrument at will. Phew! With this 99 profound truth strategy talisman instrument, if I set up a talisman formation again, its power and effect will be doubled. At that time, when facing a false core immortal, as long as I seize the initiative, I can directly confine and suppress them with the talisman formation. Moreover, with this talisman instrument, ordinary methods would not even dream of breaking through my talisman formation. Lu Changsheng looked at the folding fan in his hand, his face showing delight. When he had visited Jiuxiao Immortal City before, he had witnessed the false core patriarch from the Xiahou family clash with the Qiyun true immortal from the Qingyun sect. He had a rough understanding of the strength of a false core immortal. Knowing that with this talisman instrument, when he used hundreds of talismans to form a formation, his offensive would far surpass that of a false core immortal. He could directly blast a false core immortal to death. And furthermore, with this talisman instrument, the effect of trapping enemies with the talisman formation greatly increased. It wasn't like before, when faced with a strike from a talisman treasure, the talisman formation would have one of its corners destroyed. However, becoming a false core immortal is not simple. If I don't seize the initiative, or if the opponent acts first, the outcome is still hard to predict. So, if I can avoid fighting beyond my realm, then I will not. Lu Changsheng exhaled lightly, not overestimating himself. He knew that becoming a false core immortal was not simple. The opponent wouldn't let him make the first move and seize the initiative. If the opponent seized the initiative, although he could rely on the talisman formation to defend and even break through, the outcome was uncertain. After all, in the cultivation world, those who could cultivate to the level of the false core had many methods, and not a few were simple. Perhaps the opponent would have some unexpected techniques. Next up is this 9-treasure jade rui. As long as I refine this spiritually enlightened spiritual treasure into my life-bound treasured bone, by then, gaining the 9 great divine abilities, facing a false core immortal will be no problem at all. I could even contend with a nascent soul immortal. Lu Changxing gently touched the 9-treasure jade ruby at his breastbone. After breaking through the 5th layer of the 100 refinements treasure body art, he began to refine this sky-reaching spiritual treasure. But to refine a sky-reaching spiritual treasure into a life-bound treasured bone was not so simple. Moreover, he had no time to refine this sky-reaching spiritual treasure for so long. He could only rely on the automatic circulation of the 100 refinements treasure body technique to slowly refine the treasure bit by bit. Lu Changxing didn't give it more thought. Eager to refine the sky-reaching spiritual treasure, he walked out of the cave dwelling. He went to check on Lu Maiage's condition in the cave dwelling next door. She was still in the process of converting spiritual power to cultivation level with the water of virtue technique. Although the Saturn solar sword technique she was practicing was inherited from the same lineage as the Tao, which made the conversion much simpler, it was estimated that it would still take 3 to 4 months to complete the conversion. After spending some affectionate time with Lu Miaoge without disturbing her, he went into the backyard of the family home to chat and inquire about the family situation. During the conversation, Lu Changxing learned that he had been in seclusion for nearly 5 months. 5 months? That means the child in Nangong Mili's belly is already a year old. Why has the child not been born yet? Lu Changsheng's heart paused suddenly, thinking of something. Counting the time, it had been a year since he learned through the system that Nangong Mili was pregnant, yet he hadn't felt the thrill of the spiritual root boost. System. Lu Changxing immediately called out in his mind, opening the system panel to check. Offspring, 153 for 157, 157, so the child hasn't been born yet? The longer the pregnancy, the higher the probability that the child has a remarkable spiritual root talent. Just like Wang Shu, who was born after a year, it seems that this child's talent might be good. Lu Changxing looked at the offspring tab in front of him, took a deep breath, and set his mind at ease. His heart was filled with anticipation for this unborn child. After all, this was the child of a nascent soul immortal. At the strength level of nascent soul, it's very difficult to conceive. But once conception occurs, the child that is born will most likely possess a spiritual root, and the talent of that spiritual root would not be meager. Little Wang Shu. After chatting with his wife for a while, Lu Changxing saw Lu Wang Shu not far away, looking serene and eating lotus seed soup, and called out to her warmly. This 4-year-old daughter inherited his and Xiaoxia's looks, naturally resembling a carved doll and very adorable. However, in response to Lu Changsheng's warm greeting, Lu Wang Shu, who was eating her lotus seed soup, just glanced over and continued eating without paying him any mind. Little Wang Shu, did you miss Daddy? Lu Changxing looked at the adorable Lu Wang Shu eating, crouched beside her, and continued speaking. You can't talk while eating. Chapter 584, Fusion Spirit Pill, Lu Maiage's Heavenly Foundation Establishment. 2-in-1, 2,000 monthly ticket bonus. Lu Wang Shu, with a spoon in hand, spoke to Lu Changxing in a baby voice. Then do you miss Daddy? Hearing this, Lu Changxing made a face of mock grievance and said, He no, awa. Upon hearing these words, Lu Wang Shu chuckled and said as she scooped another lotus seed into her mouth. Wow, Daddy is heartbroken. When Lu Changxing heard this, he immediately looked distressed and said, in his heart, he couldn't help but think that he really hadn't spent much time with his daughter. Most of the time, he was busy with seclusion and cultivation, causing the father-daughter relationship to become estranged. Miss you, miss you, miss you. Seeing Lu Changxing like this, Lu Wang Shu immediately looked up with her little face, showing a healing smile with her little tiger teeth and said, Tricked you, just teasing you. Lu Changxing chuckled. He had actually been fooled by this 4-year-old little girl in front of him. You actually teased Daddy. Then tell me, how do you miss Daddy? Lu Changxing asked his daughter, who was eating lotus seed soup again, in a gentle voice. Lu Wang Shu tilted her head to think and put down the spoon in her hand. Then, resting her chin in her hands, she said with an adorable and obedient face, I miss Daddy like this. So good. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing rubbed his daughter's little head. Lu Wang Shu giggled a couple of times and said, Not really, I'm teasing you again, Lu. Saying so, she picked up the spoon and took another mouthful, A whir. Well, you little rascal, always teasing Daddy. Lu Changxing said in mock annoyance, gently pinching her porcelain, fair and rosy cheeks. After Lu Wangshu finished eating, he took her to play at the kindergarten. Now that the Lu family had Lu Xianxia, the puppet master, the facilities of the Lu family amusement park were much improved and fully equipped. Many concubines were playing here with their children. When they saw Lu Changxing bringing Lu Wangshu over, they immediately greeted him respectfully. Shortly after, Lu Wangshu sat on a green jade luan bird-shaped rocking car. As the rocking car swayed, a beautiful song also began to play. Daddy, you come too. Sitting on the rocking car, Lu Wangshu called out happily to Lu Changxing, signaling him to sit on the one next to hers and join her. Are you kidding me? Your dad, with my foundation establishment great cultivator status, second-rank talisman master, second-rank alchemist, and second-rank puppet master credentials, the dream of billions of fairies and witches in the cultivation world, playing such childish things. Moments later, two rocking cars began to sway together, starting a duet. Lu Changxing, seated in a car that did not quite fit his size, began to sway with the rocking car, his furrowed brows slowly relaxing. Let's be honest, this thing is quite fun. He had built this thing so many years ago and had never experienced it himself. After the song ended, Lu Changxing saw the concubines and maids nearby, who were with their children, staring blankly at him. Surprise and astonishment filled their eyes. Cough cough, this thing is quite decent. The children seem to enjoy it when they play. Lu Changxing coughed lightly twice, stepped off the rocking car, and spoke earnestly to the maids. We do. According to Lu Xianxia, it was designed by you, my lord. The children really like it. Indeed, I tried it too, and it's quite interesting. Daddy, this is fun too. The wives and children immediately said aloud. Hee, I'm glad you like it. Seeing this, Lu Changxing laughed and said, it wouldn't be good to just spend time with Lu Wangshu, the little girl, alone. Though as a father he might have his favorites. Yet he wouldn't be overly obvious with his partiality. After spending a day with the children, after dinner, Lu Changxing went to the corner of the courtyard to check on his golden armor bean mother. This golden armor bean mother had been planted for 8 years and was at the flowering and fruiting stage. There were 8 blossoms in total, which meant there would be 8 golden armor spirit beans. That was close to what Lu Changxing had estimated beforehand. Looking at the blossoms, Lu Changxing guessed that in another 2 years, they would bear spirit beans. This made him somewhat excited about these golden armor spirit beans. True, 8 beans would yield only 8 golden armor warriors. But these were, after all, his very first Dao soldiers. Chirp chirp chirp. Just then, Lu Changxing saw Lu Miaoyun taking the green jade luan bird out for a walk. The bird had been raised for 2 years and had grown considerably larger. Its feathers shone like green jade, stunningly beautiful, brimming with an aura of immortality. However, to use this green jade luan bird as a mount, Lu Changxing reckoned it would need another 7 or 8 years of raising. Seeing the green jade luan bird reminded Lu Changxing that he still had a cold blue dark turtle in his spiritual pet bag. He had taken this mysterious turtle out of the system space when he was in Jiuxiao Immortal City, and had kept it in the spiritual pet bag since then. After all, he didn't see much value in raising such a creature. But instead of subjecting it to feast and famine in the pet bag, it would be better to have someone in the household raise it. After all, a proper environment and consistent feeding would significantly aid in the growth of a spiritual pet. Lu Changxing's thoughts immediately went to his wife, Lu Miaoge. The turtle was of water and ice attributes. Lu Miaoge was cultivating the water of virtue technique, which aligned closely with the attributes of the cold blue dark turtle. But considering Lu Miaoge was quite busy at the moment, fully devoted to switching her cultivation technique and had no time to care for pets. Right away, Lu Changxing thought for a moment, then went to Chu Zhenshin's courtyard to find his daughter, Lu Wangshu. Because Lu Miaoge was currently occupied, the daughter was being looked after in turns by Lu Miaoyun, Lu Miaohuan, and Chu Zhenshin. Little Wangshu, do you want a pet? Lu Changxing asked his daughter in a gentle voice. Daddy, what kind of pet? Chapter 585. Fusion Spirit Pill, Lu Miage's Heavenly Foundation establishment. 2-in-1, 2,000 monthly ticket bonus, _4 Lu Wangshu, upon hearing these words, tilted her little head and said cutely, "Little turtle, take a look and see if you like it." Lu Changsheng took out the cold blue dark turtle from the spiritual pet bag. This cold blue dark turtle was only the size of a pot lid, with a blue-green body. The shell carried a hint of ice blue color, emanating a faint chill. Because it was still young, the little turtle looked rather clunky and endearingly silly. Feeling Lu Changsheng's presence, the cold blue dark turtle immediately rubbed against Lu Changsheng's feet. "Little turtle." Lu Wangshu's little face showed wonder. She immediately squatted down and poked the cold blue dark turtle in front of her with her tender fingers. This cold blue dark turtle, being a demon beast with human-like intelligence, immediately nuzzled its little mistress affectionately. Then it opened its mouth and spouted an oval ice cube onto Lu Wangshu's hands. Lu Wangshu looked at the ice cube, her face filled with surprise, and subconsciously tried to put it in her mouth to taste it. "You silly thing, don't just eat anything you find." Lu Changsheng immediately snatched the ice cube from his daughter's hand and tapped the cold blue dark turtle. "Daddy, I want the little turtle," Lu Wangshu said in a sweet, tender voice. "All right, but let's get this straight. You can't just eat whatever you want," Lu Changsheng told Lu Wangshu. Then, he said to Chu Zhenjun that they should let her help take care of this pet. Otherwise, if really let Lu Wangshu take care of it, she might accidentally kill it. "Husband, don't worry, I'll watch over Wangshu," Chu Zhenjun said softly, squatting alongside to watch the cold blue dark turtle. She then discussed with Lu Wangshu and decided to name this heaven-rank demon beast Little Ice. Half a month later. That day, Lu Changsheng was having a casual chat with Ling Zixiao. They planned to head out to inspect a few spiritual lands in person once Lu Miaoge broke through to Foundation establishment, and also take a look at some spirit vein dojos being sold by Qingyun sect. Just then, a gust of airflow, accompanied by a system notification, sounded. "Congratulations to the host, as 20 of your children have completed Qi induction and stepped onto the path of immortality, obtaining a bloodline effect. 5% increased likelihood of birthing children with a spiritual root, and 1 opportunity for a lucky draw." 20. Has Pingon completed Qi induction? Lu Changsheng, upon hearing this system notification, paused mentally. Calculating the time, Lu Pingon should have fully completed Qi induction by now. He kept his composure and continued chatting with Ling Zixiao. An hour later, Lu Changsheng stepped out of the little courtyard and learned that indeed, Lu Pingon had completed Qi induction. With a 5th grade spiritual root, taking just over half a year to finish Qi induction wasn't particularly fast, but also not too slow. Therefore, Lu Changsheng prompted him to continue with his cultivation at ease. He planned to try teaching him the 100 refinements treasure body art once Lu Pingon broke through to the 4th level energy refinement. System, lucky draw. Lu Changsheng went to the study and mentally invoked it, curious to see what he would draw this time. The system roulette appeared, a streak of golden light emerged and spun around, finally stopping at the elixir medicine section. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a 3rd-rank melding spirit pill. The reward has been sent to the system space. The host can check it at any time. An elixir icon immediately appeared from the roulette wheel, accompanied by a system notification. Melding spirit pill? Lu Changsheng didn't know what kind of elixir this was. Although he was a 2nd-rank alchemist, his knowledge of elixirs was limited to the 2nd rank. He had never heard of this melding spirit pill before. However, with prior experience, he knew that such elixirs, offered singly, were generally quite rare and valuable. With a slight stir of his mental spirit, information about the melding spirit pill emerged in the system space. Elixir, melding spirit pill. Quality, 3rd rank. Description: women who are 3 months pregnant can take this pill to guarantee the birth of a child with a spiritual root and also enhance the quality of the child's spiritual root. Hiss: taking an elixir guarantees the birth of a spiritual root and enhances its quality. Lu Changsheng, reading the description of the elixir's effects, revealed a look of delight in his eyes. Although this elixir had no direct use for him, it could ensure that at least one of his children would possess a spiritual root. and enhance the quality of the child's spiritual root. Such a good thing. I wonder if I could make this melding spirit pill after becoming a third-rank alchemist, Lu Changsheng thought to himself, eyeing the elixir. But he also knew that this kind of third-rank elixir probably required rare ingredients and was not easy to concoct. Who should I give this pill to? Lu Changsheng pondered for a moment, thinking about who to administer the elixir to. He currently had 2 concubines and 1 maid who were pregnant. If they took the melding spirit pill, it would guarantee the birth of offspring with spiritual roots. Forget it, he'll bring out this pill later, Lu Changxing concluded after a moment's thought, planning to save the elixir for when Ling Zixiao or Lu Miaoge, Xiao Siye became pregnant again. That way, not only could he ensure the child possessed a spiritual root, but also greatly improve the quality of the child's spiritual root. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, another 3 months had passed. During these days, although Lu Changxing hadn't secluded himself completely for cultivation, he spent most of his time integrating the 9-treasure jade rui. With the rest of his free time, he spent it with his wives, concubines, and children, crafting talismans. After all, his own shop, the Lu family's shop, needed second-rank talismans as the signature spirit talismans every month. He couldn't always use his own talismans to help with family expenses. If he ran out of talismans on his person, insufficient to set up a talisman formation, he would feel insecure. Of course, he hadn't forgotten about the remaining 4 pregnant maids at home either. Using the 5 aggregates proliferation method, he arranged for all 4 women to conceive. That day, inside a quaint and tranquil grotto. Chapter 586, Fusion Spirit Pill, Lu Miaoge's Heavenly Foundation Establishment. 2-in-1, 2,000 monthly ticket bonus, _5 Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge shared a tender moment. During a previous intimate moment, Lu Changxing had a sudden inspiration. His yin-yang energies could nourish both the Dao Foundation and true elixirs. So he wondered if they could also be used to nourish the Tai Dao seed. After all, this Dao seed shared the same origin as him, and theoretically, it should be possible. With the intention of trying it out, Lu Changxing conducted an experiment. As expected, Lu Miaoge reported that the foundational depth of the Tai Dao seed had been enhanced. Thus, the yin-yang energies, which originally belonged to Ling Zixiao, were now shared equally between the 2 women. Afterward, Lu Miaoge lay weakly in Lu Changxing's arms, quietly feeling the nourishment of the Tai Dao seed by the yin-yang energies. However, at the moment when the Tai Dao seed was refining the yin-yang energies, a sudden impulse surfaced in Lu Miaoge's heart. The water of virtue technique within her began to stir restlessly. It started to operate on its own, actively attempting to break through to the second level of the technique. Lu Changxing sensed fluctuations in spiritual power and immediately looked towards Lu Miaoge, asking what was happening. Is this a self-initiated foundation establishment? Lu Miaoge's brows slightly furrowed, instantly understanding what was happening. In the cultivation world, there is a saying that when one's cultivation technique is refined to the utmost limit, the opportunity to break through the foundation establishment on one's own will emerge. This is the Heavenly Foundation Establishment. As long as one follows this elusive thread of spiritual mechanism and breaks through the foundation establishment, success rates are as high as 50%. This probability is comparable to using a foundation establishment elixir or foundation establishment spirit objects. Moreover, after breaking through, one's mana and Dao foundation would be even more pure and robust. This opportunity for Heavenly Foundation establishment must be due to the profound mysteries of the Tai Xingshui Ju. Or perhaps Changsheng's Tai Dao seed is too vigorous, causing the spiritual foundation within me to be equally strong. Thus the technique is automatically attempting to break through to the second level, Lu Miaoge murmured to herself, realizing what was happening. She immediately spoke to Lu Changxing, explaining her current condition. Sister Miaoge, immediately attempt the foundation establishment, and I will protect you. Lu Changxing said this as soon as he heard the news. Heavenly Foundation establishment belongs to the kind of opportunity that comes by chance but cannot be sought. Lu Miaoge had already prepared everything for her foundation establishment. She had the Foundation Establishment Elixir, and also the Foundation Establishment Spirit Objects. Now that the opportunity of Heavenly Foundation Establishment had wondrously appeared, it was naturally crucial to seize it and attempt the Foundation Establishment in one go. Only by doing so could she have the greatest certainty of condensing a perfect foundation base. All right. Lu Miaoge responded softly upon hearing this, without any hesitation. She let the impulse guide her, allowing the technique within her to operate automatically, beginning to challenge the eagerly desired and earnestly pursued Foundation Establishment. Her technique was almost fully converted to the Water of Virtue technique, though not yet solidified. But with the help of the Tai Dao Seed and Heavenly Foundation Establishment, there was no longer any need to spend time solidifying it. Boom! As Lu Miaoge released her restraint, the Tai Dao Seed in her dantian burst forth with great golden light, causing her spiritual lake to churn tumultuously and the Water of Virtue technique to operate wildly. The spiritual energy in the cave also became a whirlwind rushing towards her like a sweeping storm at that moment. Foundation Establishment Elixir. Lu Changsheng reminded from the side. Even though Lu Miaoge's current chances of successfully establishing her foundation were not inferior to his own back then, with confidence levels of 70 to 80%. In his view, one must never cut corners on such matters. Okay. Lu Miaoge took out the Foundation Establishment Elixir and 3 Foundation Establishment Spirit Objects from her storage bag. Lu Changxing had already discussed with her all aspects related to Foundation Establishment, including when to consume the Foundation Establishment Elixir and use the Foundation Establishment Spirit Objects. She took out the Foundation Establishment Elixir and swallowed it. Then she consumed the Blood Yang fruit in one gulp. Although she had no hidden injuries, she hadn't cultivated any physical techniques. Now, by consuming the Blood Yang fruit, she aimed to enhance her vitality, spirit, and soul. Rumble! Instantly, the vital energy within Lu Miaoge began to surge wildly, like a raging river. She embarked on the first stage of Foundation Establishment, the Vitality stage. Meanwhile, elsewhere, within another cave dwelling, Lu Yuanzhong, who was meditating and regulating his breath, opened his eyes. What's happening? He frowned slightly, sensing that the surrounding spiritual energy was converging towards the direction where Lu Changxing was. However, whatever technique Lu Changxing was cultivating, it shouldn't cause such a massive influx of spiritual energy. Lu Yuanzhong immediately got up and flew towards the cave where Lu Changxing was to see what was happening. As he approached the cave, a divine sense transmission rang out. Ancestor, Sister Miaoge is attempting the Foundation Establishment. Please have the family pay extra attention during this time, Lu Changsheng's voice echoed in Lu Yuanzhong's mind. What? She's attempting Foundation Establishment? Lu Yuanzhong, startled by the news, was taken aback. This was so sudden. He knew that for the past half a year, Lu Miaoge had been refining her mana in the cave dwelling to prepare for the Foundation Establishment. But he hadn't expected her to attempt it without any forewarning. Ancestor, don't worry, I've already prepared Foundation Establishment elixirs. Sister Miaoge has a high probability of making a successful breakthrough. Lu Changxing, with his late-stage Foundation Establishment divine sense, observed Lu Yuanzhong's expressions and continued to transmit his voice. He hadn't mentioned the Foundation Establishment elixir before but had indicated to Lu Yuanzhong that he was prepared. Now that Lu Miaoge had begun the attempt, he naturally no longer kept it to himself. You've prepared the Foundation Establishment elixirs? Lu Yuanzhong was shocked, feeling a massive wave of disbelief washing over him. He initially thought when Lu Changxing mentioned he was prepared, it pertained to meridian-protecting elixirs and spiritual objects. But to his complete surprise, Lu Changxing had prepared Foundation Establishment elixirs. And to think he was giving them to Lu Miaoge for her breakthrough. Such a gesture left him, the Lu family ancestor, immensely astonished. Very well, you keep an eye on Miaoge, and I'll make the arrangements here. Chapter 587, Fusion Spirit Pill, Lu Miaoge's Heavenly Foundation Establishment. 2-in-1, 2,000 monthly ticket bonus, _6 Lu Yuanzhong didn't think much and immediately sent a telepathic message back. Order the family to seal off Qingzhou Mountain and have everyone enter a state of alert, he commanded, to guard against any possible spies or demon cultivators, or any other families causing trouble at this crucial time. But when he thought of other families causing trouble, his thoughts drifted to Lu Miaofeng's previous incident, and his expression darkened ever so slightly. At this very moment, inside the cave dwelling, Lu Miaoge, with her delicate features and fair skin, sat cross-legged with her eyes closed, akin to a solitary snow lotus from the Tianshan, independent of the world. She endured the relentless bombardment of the majestic spiritual energy as it assailed her body and meridians. Lu Changxing, witnessing this scene, promptly slapped his storage bag to avert any shortage of spiritual energy. One after another, middle-grade spirit stones flew out. Although this cave dwelling was situated around a spirit spring, Qingzhou Mountain was after all only a middle-grade spirit vein, far from comparable to the grade dwelling he had rented in Qingyun Market. And Lu Miaoge's attempt at foundation establishment this time was with high probability to condense a perfect Tao foundation. The consumption of spiritual energy would far exceed that of an ordinary foundation establishment. Time trickled by. How much time had passed was unclear. Lu Miaoge's internal spiritual power began to transform into liquid mana. She embarked on the second phase of foundation establishment, the magic barrier. Lu Miaoge opened her beautiful eyes and saw Lu Changxing crushing one middle-grade spirit stone after another, supplementing her with nature's spiritual energy. A warm current surged in her heart. But at such a critical junction, she dared not get distracted with thoughts and instead refined the prepared Xian Yin True Water. Her water attribute spiritual power, cultivated via the water of virtue technique, was perfectly compatible with this Xian Yin True Water. Boom boom boom. In Lu Miaoge's Qi Ocean core, the Tai Dao seed emitted a dazzling light within the gaseous true lake, aiding her compression of mana, transforming the lake of Qi into a true lake. Once the first droplet of liquid mana formed, and strands of mana mist spread within her dantian, she immediately began the third phase of foundation establishment, divine sense. All three phases of foundation establishment pose no problem, it's nearly perfect. Lu Changxing, utilizing the Tai Dao seed, could vaguely sense a few aspects of Lu Miaoge's current state. Knowing for the current Lu Miaoge, with the aid of foundation establishment elixirs and foundation establishment spirit objects, overcoming the three phases of foundation establishment was quite effortless. The question remained whether she would condense an unblemished Tao foundation or a perfect Tao foundation. Boom! That day, the movements of spiritual energy in Qingzhou Mountain became increasingly fierce, rushing madly towards the cave dwelling where Lu Miaoge was located. Above the cave dwelling, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth slowly converged, forming a massive spiritual energy vortex. What's happening here? A spiritual energy vortex. Is someone attempting foundation establishment? In our clan, who else is trying to achieve foundation establishment? Could it be Sister Miaoge is attempting foundation establishment? But where in the clan are there enough spirit stones to support Aunt Miaoge's foundation establishment? After Uncle Changsheng's return from foundation establishment, he might have prepared meridian protecting elixirs for Aunt Miaoge, or even some foundation establishment spiritual objects. Exactly, the Great Elder is not only a foundation establishment great cultivator but also a second-grade talisman master. He is certainly able to acquire such heavenly treasures from the earth. I'm so envious. If only I could encounter a Lang Jun as capable as the Great Elder. Within Qingzhou Mountain, many looked up at the spiritual energy vortex above Qingzhou Valley and began to discuss aloud. The first ones to guess it was Lu Miaoge making her attempt at foundation establishment. For there were only 3 people within the Lu family currently capable of attempting foundation establishment. Lu Miaofeng had previously failed in foundation establishment and was still recuperating. Another foundation establishment hopeful had just broken through to the 9th level of energy refinement and would need several more years before attempting foundation establishment. The only one remaining was Lu Miaoge. Moreover, throughout this year, Lu Miaoge hadn't left for the Red Leaf Valley market and had stayed reclusive at home. Therefore, many disciples of the Lu family guessed that it was Lu Miaoge attempting foundation establishment. Sister Miaoge. In Qingzhou Valley, within a courtyard, Lu Miaofeng opened his eyes and gazed towards the spiritual energy vortex emanating from the spirit spring. He prayed earnestly in his heart that Lu Miaoge would succeed in her foundation establishment. Only then would the sense of guilt and remorse in his heart be alleviated, even if just by a little. This spiritual energy vortex, the Tao foundation that Miaoge is condensing, Lu Yuanzhong, observing the spiritual energy of the universe, faintly guessed that Lu Miaoge's Tao foundation was no ordinary matter. Because the better the Tao foundation being condensed, the more fearsome the absorption and release of nature's spiritual energy would be. And the spiritual energy that Lu Miaoge was currently absorbing and releasing was evidently superior to his and to that of the previous Lu Miaofeng. This made him uncontrollably surprised as to what Lu Changxing had prepared for his niece, other than the foundation establishment elixirs. Miaoge, Lu Yuanding, having been informed by Lu Yuanzhong, knew that it was his daughter, Lu Miaoge, who was attempting foundation establishment. And he also knew that Lu Changxing had prepared a foundation establishment elixir for his daughter. This brought him immense relief and joy. He felt that in his life, the most correct thing he had done was to bring Lu Changxing back to the Lu family from the foot of the Qingyun sect. She's finally breaking through to foundation establishment, huh? It seems at the very least, it's a flawless Tao foundation. In a small courtyard with a face still somewhat pale and lacking blood color, Ling Zixiao looked towards the distant spiritual energy vortex and spoke softly. She was somewhat curious as to what cultivation technique Lu Changxing had taught Lu Miaoge to practice. She also harbored some anticipation for Lu Miaoge's breakthrough in foundation establishment. After all, Lu Changxing once said that once Lu Miaoge broke through to foundation establishment, her dragon roar physique could likely be resolved. Chapter 588. Yu family attacks, talisman formation suppresses foundation establishment. _1 in the cave dwelling. It seems that a perfect Tao foundation is within reach. Lu Changxing watched as Lu Miaoge, who was beside him, made her breakthrough in foundation establishment and nodded silently. Through the Tai Dao seed, he could approximately sense the current situation of Lu Miaoge. He knew that Lu Miaoge was currently condensing her Tao foundation. This Tao foundation should be a perfect foundation base. However, through his own Yin-Yang 5 Elements foundation base and Xiaoxia's Lunar Primordial Spirit foundation, Lu Changxing knew that perfect Tao foundations also had their hierarchy. Muzhe's Tao foundation at most may be similar to his own 7 Luminaries foundation. It couldn't compare with his Yin-Yang 5 Elements foundation or Xiaoxia's Lunar Primordial Spirit foundation. Being able to condense a perfect Tao foundation already puts her ahead of 99% of foundation establishment cultivators. Speaking of which, with the Tai Dao seed, Sister Miaoge's Tao foundation will share some commonalities with mine. Afterward, if I use the Yin-Yang energies to baptize her Tao foundation, can it advance further like she used, making Sister Miaoge's foundation also take one more step? Lu Changxing pondered in his heart. Thinking of how Xiaoxia's perfect Tao foundation had transformed under his Yin-Yang energies, could Lu Miaoge's Water of Virtue technique foundation possibly undergo transformation as well? Under normal circumstances, for the Tai Shengshui Ju Water of Virtue technique, a perfect Tao foundation was already the limit. But his Yin-Yang energies seem to be truly defying the heavens. That can be tried later on. Not sure if anyone will come to disrupt this time. Lu Changxing knew that at this stage, a vortex of spiritual energy was already gathering over Qingzhou Valley. This activity would surely be noticed by others. He couldn't help thinking about when Lu Miaofeng was breaking through her foundation establishment, and 3 foundation establishment great cultivators came to interfere. Now that Lu Miaoge was undergoing foundation establishment, he wondered if those 3 would continue to harass them. If they come, then let them come, just 3 minor foundation establishment cultivators. If they dare to come, I can just suppress and kill them with a talisman formation. Lu Changxing smiled lightly. If they dared to come and disrupt Lu Miaoge's foundation establishment, he would naturally not be polite. Although he didn't want to expose his strength, as a second-grade talisman master, killing enemies with a talisman formation is reasonable, right? Lu Changxing didn't think too much, quietly observing the situation of Lu Miaoge before him, to avoid any mishaps during her foundation establishment process. Meanwhile, a tall figure dressed in a black brocade robe and wearing a hood arrived at Qingzhou Mountain. Seeing this figure, Lu Yuanzhong immediately stepped forward to welcome him. He said with a joyful expression, "Yun Yang, my nephew, you've taken the trouble to come here this time." When Lu Yuanzhong learned that Lu Miaoge had started her breakthrough in foundation establishment, considering what had happened with Lu Miaofeng, he not only sealed off Qingzhou Mountain and operated the Great Formation, but also sent a message to the Bai family. He hoped that the Bai family ancestor would assist them by coming to Qingzhou Mountain to oversee the situation. Now that he saw Bai Yunyang, the Bai family ancestor coming, his heart was filled with joy. "There's no need for formalities, Uncle Lu. Our two families have had good relations for generations. Such matters as these, where I can lend some help, I naturally should," Bai Yunyang, taking off his hood, revealing his heroic face, said in a deep voice. Upon receiving Lu Yuanzhong's message, he learned about Lu Miaoge's breakthrough in foundation establishment. Although their Bai family did not wish for the Lu family to become too strong, they also understood the current situation. If the Lu family did not have a new foundation establishment birth after Lu Yuanzhong's death, and only Lu Changxing remained as an external foundation establishment cultivator, chaos would surely ensue. Moreover, the Yu family had always been eyeing their several great families with covetous intentions. Having one more foundation establishment in the Lu family would also benefit the Bai family. Furthermore, the Lu family and the Bai family had enjoyed good relations for generations. This time it was also Lu Changsheng's wife, Lu Miaoge's foundation establishment. His aid was mainly to act as a deterrent. No matter the outcome, Qingzhou Mountain and Lu Changxing would owe him a favor afterward. "Rest assured, my nephew, such kindness will certainly be remembered by the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain," Lu Yuanzhong said in a grave voice. At Bai Lake Mountain, the Yu family. "What? Someone from the Lu family is undertaking foundation establishment?" The patriarch of the Yu family, Eugene Yang, frowned upon hearing the news, his face showing surprise. He was well aware that the Lu family had nearly drained their resources just for one person's foundation establishment breakthrough previously. Now only a year and a bit had passed since the last breakthrough. Where could the Lu family have obtained the resources for another foundation establishment breakthrough? Yes, Ancestor, this news was personally verified by Ancestor Yuanshan. Currently, a vortex of spiritual energy is spiraling over Qingzhou Valley, clearly at a critical moment of foundation establishment. The patriarch of the Yu family replied respectfully. Where did the Lu family get the resources for foundation establishment? Could they be relying on one or two foundation establishment spirit objects to directly attempt foundation establishment? Yu Ningjuan voiced his suspicion. According to my investigation, only Lu Miaoge from the Lu family meets the conditions for a breakthrough in foundation establishment. As a talisman master, she is just one step away from becoming a second-rank talisman master. Without foundation establishment elixirs, under no circumstances would the Lu family risk her undertaking foundation establishment. I suspect that Lu Changxing has foundation establishment elixirs in his possession, hence providing for Lu Miaoge's breakthrough. Yu Ninghu, standing beside him, spoke up, his eyes slightly focused and a serious tone in his voice. Lu Changxing, foundation establishment elixirs. Hearing this, both Yu Ningjuan and the patriarch of the Yu family had solemn expressions on their faces. After Lu Changxing returned from his foundation establishment, their Yu family had analyzed the information about him, but the more they analyzed, the more they felt that Lu Changxing was no ordinary individual. A so-called 9th-grade spiritual root son-in-law of the Lu family had managed to reach this level in just over 20 years. This definitely involved fortune, a great fortune. No matter what, we absolutely cannot allow the Lu family to produce another foundation establishment. If the Lu family has one more foundation establishment cultivator, our Yu family's 100-year plan would be completely ruined. Chapter 589. Yu family attacks, talisman formation suppresses foundation establishment. Moreover, if Lu Changxing really can produce a foundation establishment elixir, there might even be elixirs that could extend Lu Yuanzhong's life. Even if it extends his life by just 20 or 30 more years, with Lu Changxing, a second-grade talisman master, and Lu Miaoge, another second-grade talisman master, holding the fort, the Lu family can prosper for 100 years and cultivate several foundation establishment great cultivators. Patriarch of the Yu family, Yu Jinyang, spoke, his voice deep and resonant. Previously, Lu Changsheng's success in foundation establishment was within their acceptable range. After all, Lu Changsheng was an in-law foundation establishment cultivator. But they would never sit idly by and watch the Lu family produce another foundation establishment great cultivator. Especially since this foundation establishment great cultivator was Lu Changsheng's wife. The patriarch is right. Previously, when we went to Qingzhou Mountain to cause trouble, the Lu family must have guessed that our family was behind it, but they didn't dare to tear off the mask due to the situation. If Lu Miaoge breaks through to foundation establishment and Lu Yuanzhong's injuries are stabilized, they might just join forces with the Bai family and turn directly against our Yu family. And Zheng family's old ghost, though he submits to our Yu family, is still wavering in his heart. In such a situation, he might pledge his allegiance to the Lu family. Yu Ninghu nodded and immediately said, "If that's the case, Ningjun, accompany this old ancestor to Qingzhou Mountain once more. If we were able to make their first attempt at foundation establishment fail, we can make their second attempt fail as well." Yu Jinyang immediately decided, his voice carrying a cold authority. Having said this, he turned to Yu Ninghu and said, "Ninghu, you stay at home and hold the fort. If there is any news, relay it directly." "Yes, Patriarch." Yu Ninghu bowed and replied respectfully. Then he said to Yu Jinyang, "Patriarch, if it really is as we suspect and this Lu Changxing is not simple, you should be a bit more cautious when dealing with him. Moreover, having learned from the lesson of Lu Miaofeng, the fact that they dare to attempt foundation establishment at Qingzhou Mountain again surely means they are prepared." Yu Ninghu said, This old man is well aware. The Lu family dares to continue attempting foundation establishment at Qingzhou Mountain, so they must be prepared. But in my opinion, Lu Yuanzhong at most could have invited the Bai family's young lad. As for other foundation establishment cultivators, he can't move them, nor would he dare to. Yu Jinyang snorted, his voice filled with dominance. Had it not been for concern over family reputation, or worrying that the Lu family, Bai family, and Zheng family and his own Yu family would suffer mutual destruction, he was confident he could alone overcome all three. Having said this, he left with Yu Ningjuan, departing by Lake Mountain. At the same time, he sent a message to Yu Yuanshan, who was stationed at the Red Leaf Valley Market, to prepare replicating the previous action and disrupt Lu Maiage's foundation establishment. One day later, a spirit boat appeared in the sky above Qingzhou Mountain. 3 figures in black brocades and wearing bamboo hats stood atop it. This spiritual energy vortex? It seems this Lu Miaoge is not simple. Yu Jinyang looked at the spiritual energy vortex above Qingzhou Mountain, his pupils fixing sharply upon detecting something amiss. This spiritual energy vortex, why does it seem much larger than when I first established my Dao Foundation? Yu Ningjuan looked at it upon hearing this and uttered, "Dao foundations are classified as fractured, flawed, and flawless. The larger the spiritual energy vortex, the better the Dao foundation. Could it be that Lu Miaoge is condensing a flawless Dao foundation?" Yu Yuanshan said, his voice heavy. "What does it matter if it's flawless? The better the Dao foundation, the more nature's spiritual energy it needs. Now she's at the critical moment of her foundation establishment. Once the spiritual energy becomes chaotic, the disturbance and impact on her will be even greater. Therefore, this time we need not hide our skills, but strike with all our might, definitely not allowing Lu Miaoge to succeed in foundation establishment." Yu Jinyang said with a serious tone. If Lu Miafeng's attempt at foundation establishment had made the Yu family cautious over their reputation, now, they no longer plan to care about their reputation. Because if they allowed Lu Miaoge to break through to foundation establishment, The Lu family would have 3 Foundation Establishment Great Cultivators and 2 second-grade Talisman Masters holding the fort. Then, the Yu family would not only see their plans shattered but also face retaliation from the Lu family. Yes, Patriarch. Yu Yuanshan and Yu Ningjuan, realizing the gravity of the situation, heeded the words. The trio flew out from the spirit boat as a beam of escape light and arrived at the area of the spiritual energy vortex. They immediately unleashed their magic artifacts and techniques, launching attacks at the great formation enveloped in heaven's blue glazed light. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, their attacks struck the great formation, shielded in heaven's blue glazed light, causing a tremendous tumult and clamor. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! Damn it, it's those 3 again. They disrupted Uncle Mayafeng's Foundation establishment before, and now they're here to interfere with Aunt Mayage's Foundation establishment. Detestable, utterly detestable. The Lu family disciples on patrol and guard duty saw this, and their expressions turned ugly as they shouted furiously. Who are you, and why do you attack Qingzhou Mountain? Lu Yuanzhong and Bai Yunyang exchanged glances and soared into the sky, confronting the 3 from the Yu family from across the formation and shouted loudly. I just don't like the look of your Qingzhou Mountain, what of it? The figure in the bamboo hat, Yu Ningjuan, held a patterned copper rod. Atop the rod, studded with starlight-like golden spiritual patterns, matched his onslaught as he continuously hammered away. Each blow burst forth with a dense golden light, colliding with the heaven's blue glazed light of the family's great formation, creating turmoil in the spiritual energy. My Qingzhou Mountain has no grudge with you. By attacking our family's great formation like this, could it be that you think Qingzhou Mountain is easy to bully? If you withdraw now, we can let bygones be bygones. If you continue this way, don't blame me for being rude. Lu Yuanzhong stepped forward, his foundation establishment power surging. When Lu Miaofeng was establishing his foundation, he had to endure, but now, facing those 3, with Bai Yunyang and Lu Changxing behind him, he certainly could not show weakness and sought to drive them away. Chapter 590, Yu Family Attacks, Talisman Formation Suppresses Foundation Establishment. No need to thank me. I'm curious to see exactly how you plan on not thanking me. Yu Jinyang faced Lu Yuanzhong's threat, completely unconcerned. If Qingzhou Mountain had no one attempting the Foundation establishment at this time, he would indeed be wary of Lu Yuanzhong to some extent. After all, with the family great formation at his disposal, he dared not confront it head-on. But now, with Lu Miaoge in the midst of her Foundation establishment, he figured Lu Yuanzhong wouldn't dare to activate the great formation against enemies. Once the great formation was used against enemies, the flow of nature's spiritual energy within Qingzhou Mountain would be sure to severely affect Lu Miaoge's Foundation establishment. Meanwhile, inside the cave dwelling. They're still coming, huh? Lu Changxing lifted his head gently, looking through the cave to the outside. He turned to Lu Miaoge and said, Sister Miaoge, focus on your Foundation establishment, I'll be right back. As his voice faded, he transformed into an escape light and appeared at the gates of the Lu family estate. Great Elder! Changxing! Family elders and Lu Yuanding, who were guarding the gate, immediately called out upon seeing Lu Changxing. Uncle Yun, father-in-law. Dressed in a green robe and holding a fan made of black fine iron, Lu Changxing greeted them both with a slight nod of his head. He then addressed the guarding elder, Uncle Yun, would you mind opening the formation for me? With the Qingzhou Mountain's great formation in full lockdown, he needed it open to leave. Open the formation? Changxing, please, don't be rash. Uncle Yun and Lu Yuanding were taken aback when they heard this. They immediately understood what Lu Changxing intended to do and shouted out. Father-in-law, I'm not being impulsive, trust me, Lu Changxing said calmly. Lu Yuanzhong, hovering above, saw this unfold and immediately sent a telepathic message to Lu Changxing. Changxing, you mustn't act impulsively. Then, looking down at the 3 figures outside, he continued to speak with a cold voice. Do you really intend to push me too far? Looking for a fight to the death, are we? However, the 3 Yu family members ignored him and continued to launch their full force at the Lu family's great formation. This left everyone in the Lu family feeling angry and frustrated. Ancestor, let Uncle Yun open the Great Formation, believe me, I'm confident, Lu Changxing continued, clearly unwilling to waste time with too much talk. If it weren't for the presence of the Lu family's Great Formation, he would simply tear open a breach with a talisman formation, specifically a second-rank barrier-breaking talisman. Nephew Yunyang. Lu Yuanzhong also realized he wasn't going to easily force the three men to retreat, and turned to Bai Yunyang. This, Bai Yunyang's face showed a hint of struggle. His main purpose in coming was to be a deterrent, to plunder the formation. Naturally, he was unwilling to leave Qingzhou Mountain and engage in combat. After all, as the Bai family ancestor, his severe injury would put the Bai family in jeopardy. Moreover, he had a guess about the identity of the three individuals outside. They were likely from the Yu family at the foundation establishment stage. Patriarch of the Yu family, Yu Jinyang, was a middle-stage foundation establishment great cultivator, and his strength was frightening. Both he and Lu Changxing had only recently broken through to foundation establishment. With Lu Yuanzhong still in a severely wounded state, they were no match for Yu Jinyang's trio. If he were to go out now, his life could be in danger. Ancestor. Lu Changxing continued to urge with an unquestionable attitude. Fine, Changxing, I'll go out with you, Lu Yuanzhong finally said after a moment of hesitation. If anything seems off, you must immediately return to the Great Formation. Seeing Lu Changxing's resolute demeanor, Lu Yuanzhong struggled for a moment but ultimately decided, planning to buy Lu Changxing time if real danger presented itself. Since Lu Changxing had been willing to give the foundation establishment elixir to Lu Miaoge, it showed his wholehearted commitment to the Lu family. Regardless of whether Lu Miaoge managed to establish her foundation successfully, as long as he and Lu Miaoge were there, the Lu family would have no worries. Rather than sitting and waiting for death, he'd rather drag someone down with him. Open the Great Formation. Lu Yuanzhong instructed the elder, controlling the Great Formation telepathically. Instantly, the gates of the formation were opened. Shoo! Lu Changxing transformed into an escape light, flying out and appearing above Qingzhou Mountain. How audacious! Heaven offers you a path, yet you choose the one to hell. Lu Changxing, you're truly courting death. The three Yu family members, attacking Qingzhou Mountain, shouted when they saw him acting this way. They saw Lu Changxing's behavior as arrogant, showing no regard for them. This, however, made the trio even more cautious. Changxing, be careful. Great Elder. Changxing. Husband. Back on Qingzhou Mountain, Lu Yuanzhong, Lu Yuanding, and other Lu family disciples witnessed this scene. Seeing Lu Changxing rush out to face three foundation establishment great cultivators without waiting for Lu Yuanzhong, their expressions changed dramatically as they shouted. Lu Yuanzhong immediately transformed into an escape light and followed. Bai Yunyang clenched his teeth and in the end, also became an escape light and flew out. However, at this very moment, Lu Changxing faced the three foundation establishment cultivators with an indifferent and calm demeanor. Swoosh, 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 hundreds of talismans streamed out from his sleeves, spreading to the four corners of heaven and earth, encircling the trio. At the same time, the fan of black fine iron flew from his hand. It transformed into 3,699 true signatures, positioning themselves according to the talisman locations, sealing this part of the world. Not good. So many talismans, be careful. No, it's a talisman formation. Quick, break the formation. Seeing such an array of talismans, Yu Jinyang and his companions were shocked. Although they had never seen a talismanic formation technique. But this sudden deployment of hundreds of talismans arranged in the sky. Apart from the legendary talisman formation, what other technique could control so many talismans? The 99 Wind-Fire Thunder Talisman Array. Lu Changxing's expression remained calm and indifferent as his mental spirit moved. In an instant, 9 second-rank middle-grade talismans, 36 second-rank lower-grade talismans, and 256 first-grade talismans were all simultaneously activated. These talismans, connected with the 99 true signatures and the rotation of the 5 elements within the Windfire wheels, enveloped the area in darkness, seeming to turn this piece of the void into dust. Chapter 591. Coveting by Lake Mountain to make it the family spirit land. Under Skirwin, Red Sun Golden Wheel. Eugene Yang, facing the encircling talisman formation enveloped by dark light and the 5-element windfire wheels in all directions, dared not hold back and immediately brought out his life-bound spiritual artifact. His life-bound golden wheel was a circle of reddish gold. The wheel burst forth with tens of thousands of golden rays, like the rising sun, and smashed heavily onto the talisman formation. Whiz whiz whiz, boom! The 3,600 profound truth tactic talismans diffused with dark light and shot out aggressively, accompanied by the spiritual light of the talismans, and forcefully countered the attack of the golden wheel, resulting in a heavy thud. The Red Sun Golden Wheel, it really is you, Eugene Yang. The Supreme Sect has decreed that within 3 years of Great War, all families and powers must develop stably and must not invade or start conflicts and wars. Yet now, your Yu family has repeatedly offended my Qingzhou Mountain, showing contempt for the rules of the Supreme Sect. I will certainly report this matter to Qingyun's sect. Lu Yuanzhong arrived overhead and, seeing the Red Sun Golden Wheel, immediately shouted out loud at Eugene Yang, wishing to leverage the might of Qingyun's sect to deter the 3 from the Yu family. This technique, the by family ancestor, by Yun Yang, upon seeing Lu Changxing lay down the talisman formation and entrap the 3 from the Yu family by himself, was horrified and looked at Lu Changxing with wary eyes. He hadn't expected that Lu Changxing, who had just broken through to Foundation establishment not long ago, had such astonishing methods. With Lu Changxing in Qingzhou Mountain and once Lu Miaoge also has her breakthrough in Foundation establishment, the Lu family is likely to rise completely. However, looking at the several hundred talismans forming the talisman formation, Bai Yunyang couldn't help but click his tongue in sympathy for the financial pain. So many talismans must be worth tens of thousands of spirit stones. Such a method is powerful indeed, but it's simply burning money. The average person simply couldn't afford it. However, the current battle situation made him feel less intimidated. He immediately brought out his spiritual artifact, ready to intervene. Rise. Lu Changxing, with a calm expression, looked at the 3 people in the formation, his hands forming seals, and spoke indifferently. In an instant, whoosh whoosh whoosh, between heaven and earth, the talismans radiated light and kept rotating, shrinking the encircled area. Billowing fierce flames surged, and wind and thunder moved in unison, attacking the 3 from the Yu family with full force. Bang bang bang. Facing such an onslaught, Eugene Yang, Yu Yuanshan, and Yu Ningjuan did not dare to underestimate it. The 3 wildly channeled their mana, seeking to break the formation and escape with full power. However, in the face of such a torrential and overwhelming attack, they were simply unable to resist. Indeed, these 3 are all worthless at Foundation establishment. Even if I were to lower the level of the talismans used, it would still be overestimating them. Lu Changxing watched the 3 people within the talisman formation and inwardly mused. Lu Daoist, we were wrong in our actions as the Yu family. We are willing to apologize and leave. Please stop. Eugene Yang shouted out loud. Under the assault of the talisman formation, the 3 had no power to fight back at all and could only continuously fend off the attacks. Once their mana was exhausted, they would fall within the formation. Even if they managed to outlast the formation until it was spent, they would definitely be seriously injured and would be no match for Lu Yuanzhong, Bai Yunyang, and Lu Changxing. What? What a terrifying talisman formation! Lu Yuanzhong and Bai Yunyang, who were ready to intervene but unable to get involved, were incredibly shocked when they saw this scene. They had thought that the talisman formation would only trap the 3 from the Yu family. They hadn't expected the formation's aggressive and terrifying nature. In just a moment, it made Eugene Yang, the always domineering patriarch of the Yu family and a middle-stage great cultivator of Foundation establishment, lower his voice to apologize. This, the great elder is mighty. Uncle is mighty. The onlookers from Qingzhou Mountain first bulged their eyes in disbelief. But the next moment, they were all excited and shouted aloud. 1.5 years ago, The matter of Lu Miaofeng's foundation establishment had left them stifling a breath of indignation. Today, with the Yu family attacking again, it truly brought their frustration and anger to a climax. Now seeing Lu Changxing suppressing the three from the Yu family by himself, making the patriarch of the Yu family bow his head, they felt thrilled and intensely excited. My husband is this powerful? My dad is this powerful? Father! The wives, concubines, and children of Lu Changxing, upon seeing this scene, were somewhat bemused. They had not expected their own husband and father to be so formidable. After all, for them, foundation establishment was a lofty achievement, and they lacked an understanding of it. And Lu Changxing, usually mild-mannered, had never shown the authority of a foundation establishment great cultivator. Lu Changxing, if you dare to kill us, my by Lake Mountain will surely be at endless war with your Qingzhou Mountain. Within the formation, Yu Ningjuan, wielding a copper rod, yelled out woefully and disheveled. However, Lu Changxing, faced with the roaring from within the formation, turned a deaf ear and continued to bombard them with his hands forming seals. If it weren't for the fear of making too much noise that could affect Lu Miaoge, who was in the process of foundation establishment, he would have simply detonated the talisman formation and ended the fight. Husband, leave them an intact corpse. Just then, a gentle and crisp voice rang out. Ling Zixiao transformed into a streak of light, flying out from Qingzhou Mountain. Foundation establishment? How is there another foundation establishment great cultivator in Qingzhou Mountain? Bai Yunyang was startled. He hadn't expected that there would be an unknown foundation establishment great cultivator within Qingzhou Mountain. He looked at Lu Changxing, his heart stirring wildly and filled with utter shock. Isn't this Changxing's partner? The great elder's partner is actually a foundation establishment great cultivator? The onlookers from the Lu family were surprised to see Ling Zixiao flying with the power to control the sky. They hadn't expected Ling Zixiao to be a foundation establishment great cultivator. Ling Zixiao usually kept to herself, and most of them had only seen her once at a family banquet. Lu Changxing, hearing Ling Zixiao's words, was somewhat surprised. But the next moment, he nodded and altered the talisman formation's attack with his hands forming seals. The remaining 7,200 profound truth tactic talismans shot out. Whiz whiz whiz. Chapter 592, Coveting by Lake Mountain to make it the family spirit land. These Xuanzhen talismans connected with the energy of the talisman, like arrows of spell shooting out, erupted with impressive might. Clang clang clang. The might spread throughout, and within the talisman formation, the sound of blades piercing flesh and metal clashing rang out. Ah! Ancestor! Inside the talisman formation, Yu Ningjuan, the newly advanced foundation establishment cultivator, was now covered in blood, with charred flesh, wailing miserably as he was about to fall from the sky. Lu Daoist, as long as you're willing to stop, let us go, and we from Blue Lake Mountain are willing to offer compensation. Yu Jinyang cried out loud. His voice was already somewhat lacking in strength. This statement left Lu Yuanzhong and Bai Yunyang exchanging looks, speechless. Not long ago, facing the three from the Yu family, they felt utterly powerless and apprehensive. But now, Lu Changxing alone was overpowering the three, forcing Yu Jinyang, the patriarch of the Yu family, to plead for mercy. Such combat power, such strength, even with the aid of talismans, was incredibly astounding. However, seeing Yu Jinyang in such a state, both of them couldn't help but feel a surge of satisfaction. After all, the Yu family had never been anything but overbearing towards them on normal days. Boom boom boom, Lu Changxing remained silent, his expression indifferent, his hands forming seals, commanding the talisman formation to continue its assault, intent on slaying them both. Aya, Lu Changxing, do you truly intend to commit such extermination and be irreconcilable with Blue Lake Mountain? Seeing that Yu Ningjuan and Yu Yuanshan were already done for, Yu Jinyang, holding a golden wheel with bloodshot eyes, roared furiously. Xuanzhen 99, Decree. Lu Changxing said coldly, his hands forming seals. Had it not been for his concern about causing too much commotion and his intention to leave the three with whole corpses, Yu Jinyang wouldn't still be able to be defiant. Shoo shoo shoo. 99 Xuanzhen talismans, connecting with the talisman, shot out, piercing through the body of Yu Jinyang within the talisman formation, until his last spark of life vanished. I am not willing to accept this. Yu Jinyang's eyes widened, his face unwilling to accept the outcome. He never imagined that his own decision would lead to his own demise, as well as that of his nephew and great-grandson, all buried within Qingzhou Mountain. Everyone present, witnessing the talisman formation dissipate and the bodies of Yu Jinyang, Yu Yuanshan, and Yu Ningjuan were too shocked to speak. Foundation-building great cultivators. 3 foundation-building great cultivators, usually so above others, were now slain by Lu Changxing alone. Even though they had seen the talisman formation suppress the 3 and bombard them ferociously. Yet, seeing their bodies now, they still found it hard to believe. After all, these were the elders of a family, the highly esteemed foundation-building great cultivators. My lord, weren't you preparing to establish a family power? Now that Miaoga has broken through to foundation establishment, and Qingzhou Mountain has someone in charge. Since the Yu family from Blue Lake Mountain have provoked us today, we may as well take down Blue Lake Mountain and use it as our family spirit land. At that moment, Ling Zixiao stepped forward slightly, a faint smile on her face, and spoke in a crisp voice. The others on the scene were extremely shocked. But she showed no reaction to the death of the 3 foundation-building great cultivators, her demeanor calm. Establish a family power? Take down Blue Lake Mountain as the family spirit land? Lu Yuanzhong and Bai Yunyang heard this and were startled, looking towards Lu Changxing. They had not expected Lu Changxing to be preparing to stand on his own and establish a family power. The two of them had mixed emotions upon hearing this. Ancestor, now that the crisis of the Yu family has been resolved, I wish to take down Blue Lake Mountain to serve as our family spirit land and establish Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. Lu Changxing looked toward Lu Yuanzhong and spoke calmly. Ling Zixiao had already communicated this to him through a whisper. They could take the opportunity of the Yu family's provocation to justifiably seize Blue Lake Mountain to serve as their family spirit land. Blue Lake Mountain had both mountains and waters, an elegant environment, favorable conditions, and a larger area than Qingzhou Mountain, making it an excellent location for a family spirit land. Moreover, seizing Blue Lake Mountain would naturally incorporate all of its resources into their coffers. This was far better than purchasing a new family spirit land or acquiring a spiritual vein-blessed land from Qingyun sect. He also found the suggestion appealing and was prepared to do so. Good, the Yu family has been excessively oppressive, repeatedly offending our Qingzhou Mountain. We shall march on Blue Lake Mountain and seize it. Once it's done, Blue Lake Mountain will then be your family's spirit land, Changxing. Lu Yuanzhong, after pondering for a moment, responded directly. Seeing Lu Changsheng's methods and knowing that he was planning to establish his own family, he realized that Qingzhou Mountain, this small pond, could not retain Lu Changxing, the flood dragon. As such, it was better to do Lu Changxing a favor. In the future, if the two families maintained a good relationship, it would be beneficial to both. If Lu Daoist wishes to seize Blue Lake Mountain and needs any help, feel free to speak up. My Bai family is also willing to contribute. Bai Yunyang immediately spoke up at this moment. He knew that Lu Changxing seizing Blue Lake Mountain was already a settled matter. In such a situation, stepping forward to offer help was also a way to build a good rapport with Lu Changxing. And he was pleased to see Lu Changxing establishing his own sect. In the future, an alliance between the 3 families could be mutually beneficial. In that case, I will trouble Bai Daoist. Lu Changxing nodded, not declining the offer. Since he intended to seize Blue Lake Mountain and establish a family, he naturally wished to maintain relationships with the neighboring families. Time is of the essence. Lu Daoist, Bai Daoist, please make some quick preparations, and well head straight to Blue Lake Mountain. Ling Zixiao, her hair piled up high and dressed in a blue dress, dignified in bearing, turned to Lu Yuanzhong and Bai Yunyang and said with an elegant smile. Hearing this, both could not help but take a closer look at the woman before them. Her exquisite features were pale, lacking in color, her aura weak and chaotic, making her seem incredibly fragile. Chapter 593, Coveting by Lake Mountain to make it the family spirit land. But the elegance and composure in her demeanor, and the gracefulness of her every movement, made them feel in an instant that this woman was no ordinary person. Especially since Ling Zixiao was too confident. As if taking down by Lake Mountain was within easy reach. Good. Upon hearing this, Lu Yuanzhong didn't hesitate. He immediately turned into a streak of light, returning to Qingzhou Mountain to relay the message. Stating that the Yu family had gone too far in bullying them, repeatedly offending Qingzhou Mountain. Today, he would join the great elder, Ling Daoist friend, and the Bai family in attacking Bai Lake Mountain. I'll go inform Sister Miaoge. Lu Changxing said to Ling Zixiao. Lu Miaoge was still in the midst of her foundation establishment breakthrough and could not afford to be distracted. Now that he himself was about to set off to take Bai Lake Mountain, he still needed to inform Lu Miaoge, so she wouldn't worry. After speaking, he turned into a streak of light and returned to his cave dwelling in Qingzhou Valley. Sister Miaoge, the Yu family's people have already been dealt with by me. I wish to join the elder ancestor in taking Bai Lake Mountain for our family spirit land. You should focus on your foundation establishment at home without concern. Lu Changxing saw Lu Miaoge inside the cave dwelling, still with closed eyes seated in meditation, concentrating on her Dao foundation, and spoke out. For Lu Miaoge to concentrate her Dao foundation and complete her breakthrough, it would still take several days. Moreover, stabilizing one's realm was also necessary after a foundation establishment breakthrough. He didn't have the time to stay by her side at the moment. However, he could tell that as long as she wasn't disturbed or faced any accidents, Lu Miaoge's breakthrough to foundation establishment was simply a matter of course. All right, Changxing, you go with peace of mind, don't worry about me. Although Lu Miaoge was surprised by what had just happened outside, she couldn't afford to be distracted and was fully concentrating her Dao foundation, transmitting to Lu Changxing her thoughts through divine sense. Emchim. Lu Changxing nodded and turned into a streak of light to leave, arriving at his home. He announced that he was ready to head for Bai Lake Mountain to take it down, and summoned a few of the children from the family who were at the third level of Qi refinement to accompany him. It wasn't to have these children participate in the battle, but simply to let them witness the ruthlessness of the cultivation world. Husband, Lu Miaoyun, Lu Miaohuan, Chu Jinjin, and others, upon hearing this, were somewhat worried about their children. They felt that the children were too young to join the trip. Yuna Huan, no need to worry. You will come with me, and just keeping an eye on the children will suffice. Zhenjin, Pingon, you two stay at home and take care of the other children. Lu Changxing spoke directly. He immediately took out a spirit boat from his storage bag for Lu Miaoyun. At the same time, he passed the second-rank puppet he had made to Lu Miaohuan, so she could control the puppet in case of danger. Brother, I want to go too. At this moment, Bai Ling, hearing Lu Changxing's words, gathered her courage and spoke up. Little Linger, aren't you afraid? Lu Changxing smiled genially upon hearing this. Even though Bai Ling had reached the 6th level of Qi refinement, in his view, her nature was not suited to battling or experiencing such events. I want to help brother. Bai Ling mustered her courage, but her voice was still somewhat timid. Okay, if that's the case, then let's go together. You'll be with Sister Yuna. Lu Changxing, upon hearing this, smiled and nodded, then spoke out. Meanwhile, on Bai Lake Mountain of the Yu family, outside the Yu family ancestral hall, an elderly man with gray hair, dressed in a lake blue robe, was lounging on a recliner, indolently yawning out of boredom. Suddenly, an extremely crisp sound emanated continuously from within the ancestral hall. What's going on? The old man jolted awake at the sound, leapt to his feet, and hurried into the ancestral hall. As a foundation establishment family, the Yu family could not provide a life-incorporated jade token or soul lamp for every member. But for a few key core individuals of the family, they would certainly be equipped with a life-incorporated jade token. The continuous shattering of jade tokens at this moment sent him into an utter panic. What? As soon as he entered the ancestral hall, he saw, to his dismay, shards of jade strewn all over the ground around the table. Of the original 6 life-incorporated jade tokens, only 3 remained intact. How is this possible? The elder was thunderstruck at the sight of the broken tokens, trembling all over, his steps faltering until he fell to the ground, his face etched with disbelief. Disaster! Disaster has struck. The next moment he scrambled out of the ancestral hall to convey the news. Qingzhou Mountain. About half an hour later, the Lu family completed their assembly. The number of people was not large. Aside from Lu Changxing, Lu Yuanzhong, Bai Yunyang, and Ling Zixiao, the 4 who were at the foundation establishment level, there were only 2 at the energy refinement late stage, 29 at the energy refinement middle stage, and Lu Changsheng's 4 children at the 3rd level of qi refinement. But in Lu Changsheng's view, this was sufficient. These individuals were heading there to resolve some matters and to bolster their presence, merely making an appearance. Let's go! Lu Changxing, Ling Zixiao, and Lu Yuanzhong exchanged glances and then shouted in unison, "To battle!" Immediately, the spirit boats of the 4 at Foundation establishment led the way, while the other 35 rode in 3 spiritual vessels, turning into a streak of light flying towards Bai Lake Mountain. Chapter 594. Use your Bai Lake Mountain spiritual land as compensation. _1U Family Ancestral Hall, lights flickering on and off. How is this possible? How could it be? Yuninghu, who was usually stable and composed, knelt on the ground, his eyes bloodshot as he stared at the 3 shattered jade tokens in front of him. Next to him, Yuningyuan also wore a grave expression, eyes circling the broken jade tokens, his face filled with sorrow and grief. Now that Yu Jinyang and the other 2 had perished, the Yu family was left with only 1 foundation establishment cultivator, Yuninghu. It was said that if a family had a foundation establishment great cultivator seated in authority, it was enough to stabilize the situation. But now, with the simultaneous death of Yu Jinyang and the other 2, they were filled with unspeakable panic. They couldn't comprehend how their ancestor and the other 2 suddenly perished. Our ancestor and Ning Jun went to Qingzhou Mountain. How did they all die together? Even if Lu Changsheng possesses a heaven-defying opportunity, he is nothing more than a cultivator who has just made a breakthrough in foundation establishment. How could he have killed our 3 ancestors? Even if Lu Yuanzhong fought to the death and fully activated the Qingzhou Mountain family's great formation, it would still be impossible. Besides, given Lu Yuanzhong's current state, fully activating the Great Formation to fend off enemies would mean certain death, and it would severely impact Lu Miaoge, who is undergoing foundation establishment, leading to her failure. Therefore, the Lu family definitely wouldn't do such a thing, nor do they have the ability to kill our ancestors. Yuninga's mind raced as he analyzed the situation. In his mind, there was no way his own ancestors could have died at the hands of the Lu family. Their ancestor Yu Jinyang was a foundation establishment middle stage great cultivator with staggering strength. The second ancestor Yu Yuanshan was an old foundation establishment cultivator at the 3rd level. And on the Lu family's side, Lu Changxing, Lu Yuanzhong, even if we count Bai Yunyang, the Bai family ancestor, there were only 3 foundation establishment cultivators. Among them, 2 had just recently broken through foundation establishment. Although Lu Yuanzhong was a foundation establishment great cultivator for many years. He was on brink of death with poison in his viscera, and not even equivalent to an ordinary foundation establishment cultivator. Under such circumstances, how could they have possibly killed his own ancestors? Could it be that our ancestors encountered demon cultivators on their way? Yuninghu mulled over this possibility for a long time. If it was a demon cultivator, his expression grew solemn as he thought more, increasingly feeling that it was a possibility. Although Xiahou Money's movements were mysterious and unpredictable, their strength was undeniable. And his Yu family had participated in the battle at Blackwater Pool. If his ancestors really encountered Xiahou Money on their way to Qingzhou Mountain and fell to his treachery, it would explain everything. If it's really Xiahou Money's doing, they might very well make a move on Bai Lake Mountain. Yuninghu murmured to himself, his expression grave. Xiahou Money was domineering in his actions, acting only to loot and destroy. If they had really killed his ancestors, Using their identity jade, they might sneak into by Lake Mountain. The news that Feng family fortress was annihilated overnight by a demon cultivator was still fresh in his mind. Ning Yuan, quickly send the order, activate the Great Formation, impose a full lockdown on by Lake Mountain, and allow no one to leave or enter. At the same time, send someone to the Qingyun sect, claiming there is evidence of Xiahou money's presence. Xiahou money might possibly attack our by Lake Mountain. Yuninghu immediately stood up and said to the patriarch of the Yu family, Yuning, yes, big brother. Yuning Yuan replied through clenched teeth, his eyes still bloodshot, then walked out of the ancestral hall to make arrangements. Oh heavens, why have you forsaken our Yu family? Yuninghu looked at the shattered jade tokens, clenched his fists, and expressed his discontent. His Yu family had struggled for generations, and now they had 4 foundation establishment great cultivators, 2 in the prime of life, with promising futures. The Wugong Ridge Sheng family, Qingzhou Mountain Lu family, 100 Birds Lake Bai family, were all in decline. Within at most 10 years, his Yu family might annex the 3 families and stride towards further advancement. But today, their efforts had turned to ash. Ancestor, rest assured, I will support the family. Yuninghu looked at the jade tokens in front of him, took a deep breath, determined look in his eyes, took a step back, bowed deeply and solemnly pledged. Then he turned around and walked out of the ancestral hall. Earlier he and Eugene Yang had gone to Jiuxiao Immortal City to secretly cultivate to foundation establishment. To avoid arousing the envy of other families by having too many foundation establishment members in the household. Thus he focused on serene cultivation at home. Apart from the core members of the family, he had never revealed his breakthrough in foundation establishment to the outside world. But from this moment on, he needed to stand out and take on the heavy responsibility of the family. 5 spirit boats were shuttling through the clouds. Changxing, how do you plan to deal with the Yu family? Although we hold the moral high ground, if we were to obliterate by Lake Mountain at this time, it might provoke the Qingyun sect to send someone. Moreover, if you want to establish a family, you must consider the reputation of the family. Taking over by Lake Mountain, if we do it too ruthlessly, it's likely to attract some criticism, making the surrounding families unhappy, which is not conducive to the future development of the family. Also, there are many members of the Yu family out there. If we can't eradicate them completely, we'll also have to face the Yu family's frenzied retaliation. From the spirit boat, Lu Yuanzhong spoke to Lu Changxing. Now that Yu Jinyang, Yu Yuanshan, and Yu Ningjuan of the Yu family had died, taking down by Lake Mountain seemed to him to be just a matter of time. But given that these were extraordinary times, making a scene too loudly, and if the Yu family's people or other family powers were to report it to the Qingyun sect, when the Qingyun sect stepped in, the matter would not be about justice or who's right and who's wrong. It would be about the dignity of the supreme sect. Furthermore, there were still many Yu family cultivators handling business outside. Once by Lake Mountain was captured, an unending feud with the Yu family would ensue, resulting in their frenzied retaliation. Zixia, what's your take? Lu Changsheng pondered for a moment, then inquired of Ling Zixiao. He had naturally considered these issues. Chapter 595. Use your by Lake Mountain spiritual land as compensation. Seizing and dominating another family's spirit land is naturally straightforward, convenient, accomplished in one step, and can avoid countless troubles. But likewise, it also comes with many problems and troubles. First and foremost, there is the issue of righteousness, family reputation, and public opinion. After all, loners and solitary wanderers can afford to ignore the rules. But when one chooses to establish a family, bringing along relatives, one must consider one's own reputation and the family's public opinion. Otherwise, if actions are erratically domineering and reputation suffers, it not only invites trouble but also hinders family development. Now, in terms of morality, I am justified. However, if I were to kill off the entire Yu family, I fear the reputation might be somewhat tarnished, seeming too ruthless. After all, except for cases of irreconcilable differences, most value leaving some leeway for future dealings. Moreover, most of the Yu family's cultivators are currently away. If I take by Lake Mountain and kill the Yu family cultivators there, it'll be completely at odds with the remaining members. By myself, of course, I wouldn't worry about such minor characters. But I have 157 soft spots to consider. So I must give thought to this aspect. After all, my purpose in establishing a family power is to provide a better environment for my children to grow up in, not to create future troubles for them. When did we ever say we wanted to forcibly occupy by Lake Mountain? Upon hearing this, Ling Zixiao let out a light chuckle. She elegantly smiled at Lu Changxing and the two others, her voice gentle as she said, "The Yu family has repeatedly violated Qingzhou Mountain, previously causing the Lu family to fail in foundation establishment, and now they have come to disturb Maiage's foundation establishment. For such actions, the Yu family naturally can only make reparations by offering by Lake Mountain as compensation." As for how to deal with the people of the Yu family, Ling Zixiao said, pausing slightly. Her bright and expressive Qiushui eyes turned to Lu Yuanzhong as she spoke. "Lu Daoist, if I remember correctly, 100 miles from by Lake Mountain, there is a spirit land called Little Jing Mountain. This Little Jing Mountain, belonging to the Ji family, is an energy refining family affiliated with the Yu family. We could buy Little Jing Mountain and give this spirit land to the Yu family, allowing them to settle there. Under such circumstances, I think Qingyun sect, the surrounding families, or even the Yu family members outside would have nothing to complain about." Ling Zixiao spoke with a calm tone, her elegance undisturbed. "Little Jing Mountain. Let the Yu family settle at Little Jing Mountain." Lu Yuanzhong and Bai Yunyang immediately understood the meaning behind Ling Zixiao's words upon hearing them. This was to confine the Yu family within Little Jing Mountain, locking them in place. That's right, 100 miles from Bai Lake Mountain, there indeed is a small energy refining family. Giving Little Jing Mountain to the Yu family as their family territory is indeed a good idea. Lu Yuanzhong said with a smile, nodding his head. Truthfully, he wasn't very willing to see the Yu family destroyed. After all, once that happened, his Qingzhou Mountain would not be able to escape involvement, facing accountability from Qingyun sect and retaliation from the Yu family. Even without Yu Jinyang, Yu Yuanshan, and Yu Ningjuan, the three foundation-building great cultivators, the overall strength of the Yu family was still superior to Qingzhou Mountain. If these cultivators of the Yu family targeted them, it would worsen the already challenging situation of the Lu family. But when the time comes, we will proceed as Zixiao has suggested. Hearing this, Lu Changsheng spoke up, agree. He found Ling Zixiao's proposal to be quite excellent. Using the spirit land of Little Jing Mountain to trap these people from the Yu family. In this way, the Yu family cultivators outside would also exercise restraint, wary of causing harm. As for the hatred and retaliation between the two families, honestly, when the time comes, the ones who should worry about these issues won't be him but the Yu family. Half a day later, Changxing, up ahead is by Lake Mountain. Lu Yuanzhong pointed towards the front, informing Lu Changxing from the spirit boat. By Lake Mountain. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing infused mana into his eyes and looked towards the sea of clouds below. He had always known of the Yu family of Bai Lake Mountain, but he had never been to Bai Lake Mountain before. As the spirit boat approached and he looked down from above, he finally saw the rough outline of Bai Lake Mountain. It was considerably larger than Qingzhou Mountain, covering an area of tens of thousands of acres. Mountains surrounded it on all sides, and at the center was a vast, turquoise lake like jade. Shrouded in a hazy formation, a towering peak could be seen reaching straight into the clouds. Bai Lake Mountain possessed both a lake and a mountain, with the lake abundant in spiritual fish. Lu Changxing remembered that when he first went to Nine Dragons Market, he and Lu Miaoge went to their friend Yu Meicheng's Jade Meal Hall. The shop's signature dish, red blood carp, came from Bai Lake Mountain. Not bad, Lu Changxing nodded in satisfaction. This Bai Lake Mountain was about to become his family's spirit land. In the future, he could live here raising children, planting trees, farming, breeding fish, and raising a family. Meanwhile, at the same time, not good, everyone be on alert. Operate the Great Formation at full power. Inside Bai Lake Mountain, the Yu family members had already received orders and were waiting in full readiness, patrolling and on guard. Seeing 5 spirit boats descending towards their home, their faces changed immediately, sending signals to operate the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation at full force. Huff huff huff. The originally thin mist surrounding Bai Lake Mountain quickly thickened to the naked eye, turning turquoise, with symbols flowing like fish, emitting a strong mana and spiritual pressure. This great formation seems to be second-rank high-grade. Ling Zixiao discerned the grade of the Yu family's great formation and spoke aloud. Second-rank high-grade. Lu Changsheng looked at the formation in front of him. He knew that the most troublesome part of seizing a family's power was the family's great formation. I found some formation tokens in the storage bags of those 3 from the Yu family, which must be the tokens for this Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation. Later, we can use the formation tokens to influence the operation of the Great Formation. Chapter 596. Use your Bai Lake Mountain spiritual land as compensation. If the Yu family is without an array master or a foundation establishment cultivator to preside over the Great Formation, when the time comes, my lord using several banishing talismans to assist me and breaking through the formation's weak points should not be difficult. Ling Zixiao spoke out, saying this. Good. Upon hearing Ling Zixiao say this, Lu Changxing immediately felt relieved. Lu Yuanzhong and Bai Yunyang, who were nearby, heard this and looked at Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao with some surprise. They hadn't expected the Yu family's family great formation to seem so simple in the mouths of the two. Zixiao is an array master. Lu Changxing gave a brief introduction. Since Ling Zixiao was currently weak, he hadn't revealed too much information before. So that's how it is. Upon hearing this, the 2 men slightly bowed and their looks towards Ling Zixiao became much more polite immediately. In the myriad of arts in cultivation, formations ranked among the top 3. This skill belonged to the category of difficult to learn and master. Non-gifted individuals, or members of powerful families, found it very hard to get started and achieve something. Therefore, hearing that Ling Zixiao was an array master naturally added a few more degrees of respect. It's just a slight understanding. Ling Zixiao showed a faint smile and said lightly. In the midst of their conversation, the 5 spirit boats landed in front of Bai Lake Mountain. Where is the patriarch of the Yu family? Lu Changxing and Lu Yuanzhong exchanged glances, stepped forward, and shouted out loud. In an instant, all 4 exuded their foundation establishment might. What? So many foundation establishment great cultivators? It's the Lu ancestor by family ancestor. What are they doing at our Bai Lake Mountain? The Yu family members, seeing the 4 foundation establishment great cultivators arriving with ill intentions, were immediately struck with shock and panic in their hearts. The next moment, a streak of escape light flew out from Bai Lake Mountain. He looked at the situation outside, his eyes also widening in disbelief. How is this possible? Yuninghu, seeing the forces outside, was greatly shocked. He immediately understood that his family's ancestors weren't killed by Xiahou money, as he had guessed, but by Lu Changxing and others from Qingzhou Mountain. I am Yuninghu. May I know why the 4 of you have come to our Bai Lake Mountain? Yuninghu took a deep breath, looked at the 4 people in front of him, and spoke as he performed a polite greeting. No matter if his family's ancestors really died at the hands of the 4 in front of him, given the current situation where the other party was more powerful, he had no choice but to bow his head. There's still a foundation establishment great cultivator in the Yu family? Lu Changxing was somewhat surprised to see Yuninghu. According to their information, there were only 3 foundation establishment great cultivators in the Yu family at present. Yet now, with the 3 foundation establishment cultivators killed, there was still one more. Yuninghu, we had heard that you'd perished outside. Little did we expect you had secretly broken through to foundation establishment and had been hiding at home all this while. The Yu family has kept it quite hidden. Lu Yuanzhong immediately recognized Yuninghu and relayed the information to Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao via transmission. He, too, hadn't thought that there would still be a foundation establishment great cultivator guarding the Yu family. This made Lu Yuanzhong feel that it would be somewhat difficult to carry out their previous plan of forcing the Yu family to surrender by Lake Mountain and confine themselves to Shaojing Mountain as per their original plan. He exchanged glances with Lu Changxing and stepped forward, saying, "You of the Bai Lake Mountain Yu family have repeatedly violated our Qingzhou Mountain. A year and a half ago, your families Yu Jinyang, Yu Yuanshan, and Yu Ningjuan took advantage of our Lu Miaofeng's breakthrough to Foundation establishment, came to harass us and attacked Qingzhou Mountain, causing our Lu Miaofeng's Foundation establishment to fail. Now, as our Lu Miaoga is making a Foundation establishment attempt, your Yu family has come again to cause trouble, disturbing the breakthrough. Thus we have come here today to seek an explanation from your Yu family." Even though Lu Yuanzhong was poisoned and the toxin had entered his organs, his voice was still full of vigor and resonance under the enhancement of mana. "Where do these words of the Lu ancestor come from? When has my Yu family ever done such a thing? Is there any misunderstanding in this matter?" Yu Ninghu contained his emotions, moderated his voice, and spoke out. Even up to this moment, he was reluctant to believe that his family's ancestors had fallen to Lu Yuanzhong and the others. He thought that Lu Yuanzhong and the others, upon learning of his family ancestors' demise, aimed to take advantage and falsely accuse them. But in the next instant, swoosh, 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 3 corpses flew out from Lu Changsheng's storage bag. They were indeed the corpses of Yu Jinyang, Yu Yuanshan, and Yu Ningjuan. All 3 corpses were blood-soaked and bore gruesome expressions. Some even showed areas of charring, clearly indicating they suffered a tragic and woeful death. "Ancestor! Ancestor! Ancestor!" In that moment, everyone in Bai Lake Mountain, upon seeing these 3 corpses, had their eyes nearly bursting with rage, their expressions horror-struck, shouting out loud and wailing in grief. Among them, only a few were aware of the demise of Yu Jinyang and the others. Many of the Yu family disciples were unaware of their fate. Seeing the corpses of the 3 and the forces outside, they were consumed with both anger and sorrow, while a wave of panic arose within. Ancestors. Yu Ninghu, looking at the 3 corpses, had his eyes turn blood-red, his fists clenched, trembling all over. The corpses still retained a faint trace of their magic aura. Moreover, he saw his family ancestors' red sun golden wheel, the second ancestor Yu Yuanshan's sun and moon wheels, and Yu Ningjuan's Thousand June stick appearing from Lu Changsheng's storage bag. These items were undeniably genuine, telling him that his family's ancestors indeed perished at the hands of Lu Changxing and the others. The human and physical evidence is here. Does the Yu family have any explanation yet? Lu Changxing, dressed in a green robe, spoke calmly and indifferently. "Fellow cultivators, there might be a misunderstanding about this matter. Our Bai Lake Mountain has allied with your Qingzhou Mountain and Hundred Birds Lake to jointly operate the Red Leaf Valley Market. How could we possibly do such a thing? There must be some misunderstanding here. But as to what exactly happened, I have been in seclusion and cultivation all this while, and am not clear on it. Nevertheless, if Lu Daoist is willing to return the corpses of our family's ancestors and my brother, my Yu family is willing to offer compensation." Yu Ninghu clenched his fists inside his sleeves, doing his best to keep his voice calm as he spoke. He knew that with the Lu family's preparedness and strong presence, there was clearly intent behind this visit. Today, if their Yu family didn't bleed heavily, this matter couldn't be resolved easily. Since that's the case, this matter can be settled with your Bai Lake Mountain's spiritual lands as compensation. Lu Changxing spoke out blandly. Chapter 597. The Dust Settles. The 10-Year Promise. Underscore what? You wish. You are really pushing too far. Elder, let's fight them to the death if we must. In Bai Lake Mountain, Yu family cultivators who heard these words were furious. They killed their elder ancestor and now wanted Bai Lake Mountain as compensation, an outrageous demand. Lu Daoist must be joking. Bai Lake Mountain is the ancestral land of my Yu family. We cannot simply hand it over as compensation. Yu Ninghu raised his hand, calling for everyone to be quiet, suppressing his rage as he spoke with a gesture of respect. Elder. Big brother. Ninghu. The Yu family members, watching Yuninghu face such aggressive demands and yet only able to bow and scrape, felt indignant and frustrated but were left speechless. After all, their 3 foundation establishment ancestors had died at the hands of these 4 people. They were no match for Lu family and the others. This person is indeed talented. Lu Changxing, observing the still calm Yuninghu, thought to himself. He knew that if he really seized the Yu family's land, this person could not be left alive. He looked at Yuninghu and said indifferently, "Joking? I assure you, I am not joking. Today, the Yu family will either voluntarily offer by Lake Mountain as compensation or I will take it myself." Lu Daoist, do not go too far. My Yu family is not to be trifariously bullied. My Bai Lake Mountain is protected by a second-rank great formation. Even if you 4 manage to break the formation, it's not certain, Yuninghu said with a cold look, his voice icy. He knew he couldn't keep retreating. Otherwise, it would appear that his family was weak and easily bullied. However, before he could finish, Ling Zixiao stepped out from the spirit boat, her hands forming seals, as she cast 2 tokens and several flags into the air, circling above. At the same time, a silver prohibition-breaking talisman was launched towards Bai Lake Mountain. Boom! Instantly, the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation showed intense fluctuations, causing the hazy mist to churn turbulently, vaguely revealing the interior of Bai Lake Mountain. A second-rank Great Formation for protection? If you now willingly offer Bai Lake Mountain as compensation, my husband will gift you Ming Creek Mountain as your Yu family land, ensuring your family's safety for the future. Otherwise, the moment the Great Formation breaks today will mark the doom of your Yu family. Ling Zixiao stood in the air in her flowing blue dress, her graceful figure outlined, her eyes clear and cold as she spoke. A prohibition-breaking talisman? An array master? Yuninghu saw this and his eyes narrowed. He immediately realized that Ling Zixiao was an array master. Only an array master could use their family's formation commands to affect the operation of the Great Formation, instantly pinpointing the formation's weak points and effectively attacking with the prohibition-breaking talisman caused such a disturbance. Ling Daoist is actually an array master? Lu Yuanzhong and Bai Yunyang were both startled. They had heard that Ling Zixiao was an array master. They thought at best she was a top-level first-grade array master. But now, Ling Zixiao's swift actions clearly showed it wasn't that simple. Other Lu family members such as Lu Miaoyun and Lu Miaohuan looked on in surprise from the other spirit boats. They hadn't expected the always graceful and tranquil Ling Zixiao to be not only a foundation establishment great cultivator but also an array master. If you all intend to seize our Yu family land, then there's nothing more to discuss. Even if we must die, we will not hand over our ancestral land. Well, fight to the bitter end. Yuninga's heart trembled, and he spoke with clenched teeth. The weight of his whole family's future was on his shoulders. Naturally, he couldn't just part with their ancestral land after a few words from the other party. How could he face his ancestors in the future? He would live in guilt and shame all his life. Everyone formed the array. Yuninghu shouted, mana surging, instructing the Yu family cultivators to channel their energy into the Great Formation, preparing to activate it for battle. A fight to the bitter end? If you won't listen to reason, then you will be buried with Bai Lake Mountain. Ling Zixiao's face remained calm and collected as she spoke coldly. With a flick of her hands, she slapped her storage bag. Whoosh, 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 an array plate and hundreds of formation flags appeared. She manipulated the array plate, sending the flags flying in all directions to start the array formation. Bai Daoist to the southeast. Lu Daoist to the northwest. My husband, use the prohibition-breaking talisman, attack the mountain directly. Ling Zixiao directed the 3 of them, signaling the assault on Bai Lake Mountain. This command took the 3 of them by surprise. They hadn't expected Ling Zixiao to resort to breaking the formation and attacking the mountain without any preamble. But the 3 of them also understood that in the current situation, they absolutely could not show weakness. They had to keep the initiative in their hands. All right. The 3 of them did not hesitate and answered in unison. Following Ling Zixiao's instructions, they went to their corresponding positions to attack the formation's weak points. If it weren't for your Yu family's formation commands, breaking through today wouldn't have been so easy. Ling Zixiao looked at by Lake Mountain, let out a light laugh, then manipulated the array plate and shouted, "Formation activate." Boom! In an instant, streams of spiritual light spread out, causing the spiritual energy within by Lake Mountain to surge violently. The great formation was trembling. What is happening? Not good. They're using our family's great formation tokens to disrupt the formation's operation, attempting to break the formation with their own formation. Elder Ancestor. Elder Ancestor, what do we do? Faced with this situation, the cultivators of By Lake Mountain began to panic. Currently, their family's protective great formation was their only reliance. But now, this sole reliance showed a breach. You too, take action, break the formation. Ling Zixiao looked toward the people on the other 4 spirit boats and instructed. Chapter 598. The Dust Settles. The 10-year promise. Have them attack the great formation head-on. Her mental spirit is limited. Controlling the formation on one hand and transmitting sound to let Lu Changxing and the others break the formation was already her limit. There was no way to command the rest of the people. She could only let them add pressure to the great formation. Boom boom boom. The by water azure sky great formation of By Lake Mountain, under Ling Zixiao's array and everyone's attacks, glowed erratically with spiritual light. The spiritual energy within the formation surged tumultuously, making the entire By Lake Mountain seem to tremble, and the mana within the cultivators was unstable. My spiritual power is out of control. Not good, she's seizing control of the great formation. Big brother, what should we do? Ninghu. Panic instantly spread within By Lake Mountain. Everyone looked to Yu Ninghu, waiting for him to make a decisive decision. Although among these people, some were not afraid to die and wished to fight against Lu Changxing and the others. But now the great formation had been disturbed and influenced by the opponent, even fighting for control. Continuing this way, they were utterly powerless to fight back, let alone make a last stand. Moreover, within By Lake Mountain, many of the Yu family's side branches and non-surnamed members didn't have deep feelings for the family and didn't want to die here like this. Damn it! Yu Ninghu clenched his fists tightly, his face grim and unsightly. He had never imagined that their family's great formation would seem so vulnerable at this moment. He had previously realized that the identity token of the family ancestor was an array token that could impact the great formation and that someone could sneak into the family. But he never expected that the opponent would have an array master. Directly using the array token to break the formation with a formation, externally disrupting the operation of their own great formation. At this moment, he also guessed how their own family's ancestors had perished. They surely were lured into a killing formation prearranged by the Lu family, and through that formation, their ancestor was suppressed and killed. How ruthless of the Lu family! So well hidden. This time, making Lu Miao break through to foundation establishment at Qingzhou Mountain was clearly a deliberate ploy to lure our Yu family there. Inside the sleeves of Yu Ninghu, his fists were clenched, veins bulging. He deeply realized that his family had fallen into a trap. To think that he had fallen into the Lu family's hands so easily. And now, the Lu family were demanding By Lake Mountain as compensation, presumably using the moral high ground as an excuse to force his family to comply and to make a move against them. Otherwise, with the current strength of the Lu family, guarding both Qingzhou Mountain and By Lake Mountain would also be difficult. They would have to face the covetous gaze of surrounding hostile families. Lu Changxing, his gaze shifted toward Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao. He knew that these two were the real formidable enemies. One, a second-rank master of the talisman path with many talismans. The other, a second-rank array master, using formations to break formations. Turn. Ling Zixiao, dressed in flowing blue robes, tall and graceful, her normally calm and elegant pale face now showing a hint of imperious coldness. As she parted her red lips slightly, the array plate in her hand was thrown out, and in an instant, the array flags all around burst into spiritual light, their energies intertwining, causing the earth's energy within By Lake Mountain to churn and the spiritual energy to shake. Pfft. Not good. She's manipulating our by Lake Mountain Great Formation, seeking to use its power to suppress us. With the spiritual energy inside by Lake Mountain shaking, some Yu family cultivators who were only at the early or middle stages of Qi refinement immediately felt turmoil in their Qi and blood. Especially those Yu family members whose Qi was integrated with the Great Formation were at this moment emitting heavy groans, their breath in disarray, either coughing up blood or feeling oppressed. Such an array technique. Who is this person? How did Lu Changxing come to know such an array master? Yu Ninghu, suppressing the mana and blood in him, revealed a shocked expression in his eyes. Although Ling Zixio's prowess couldn't cause much harm to him as a Foundation establishment great cultivator, the ordinary mortals and Qi refinement cultivators within the mountain were facing severe injuries. What she said about burying the entire by Lake Mountain with them was not an empty threat. Moreover, as the opponent operated the Great Formation, he could feel Ling Zixio's array might continue to climb higher, seemingly brewing a terribly fearsome strike. If you're still delusional, then don't blame me for overturning your by Lake Mountain, making the whole mountain the burial ground for your decision. Ling Zixio's eyes were as cold as water. Her pale beautiful face at this moment had an indescribable domineering aura, her charisma captivating. This woman isn't an ordinary second-rank array master. Likely she's a high-quality second-rank array master. Lu Yuanzhong and Bai Yunyang, looking at Ling Zixiao, couldn't help but feel a dryness in their throats. They had come into contact with array masters before, having learned some knowledge about the formation path. They knew that Ling Zixio's level was far from ordinary. Her skill level was extremely high. At the same time, they were astonished that Lu Changxing could form a cultivator pair with such an outstanding woman. Didn't expect Zixiao to have such a domineering side. Lu Changxing, looking at Ling Zixio's unmatched charm, thought to himself. When Ling Zixiao was with him, although it was evident she had some pride, overall she was gentle, dignified, and understood the bigger picture, making her very comfortable to be around. She never showed such an imperious and domineering side. But thinking about it, he could understand. Ling Zixiao, in both cultivation and the formation path, was a prodigy. At a young age, not only had she broken through to Foundation establishment, but she was also a second-rank array master. How could such a splendid woman not have pride? It was only because of the dragon roar physique that she had been weak all along, and coming to Jiuxiao Immortal City, she concealed her inner pride. But in Jiuxiao Immortal City, Ling Zixiao had also made quite a name for herself. Now, in the Qingyun region, facing families like the Lu family and the Yu family, she probably had some disdain in her bones. Chapter 599. The Dust Settles. The 10-Year Promise. This situation was somewhat prideful, which was quite normal. Damn it. Big brother. Ancestor. We might as well fight them to the death. The people of Bai Lake Mountain shouted toward Yuninghu, their expressions either anguished and furious or panicked and desperate. Except for a few senior members, most of them only had the cultivation level of the Qi refinement initial or middle stages. Under the might of the Great Formation, the Qi, blood, and spiritual power within their bodies surged turbulently. If this continued, they were certain to die. Now, with the death of their family ancestor and his body suspended before them, and them, facing the enemy, could not even talk of revenge, let alone fight back or resist, how could they not be angry or desperate? Boom boom boom, the by water azure sky Great Formation, under the assault of Ling Zixiao, Lu Changxing and others, kept making thunderous noises. The dense mists and wandering runes and spiritual lights that enveloped it all dimmed considerably. Under increasingly fierce attacks, the magic aura inside Yuninghu began to surge as well. Looking at his own cultivators and younger generations struggling under the might of the formation, each with pale faces, disordered breaths, and vomiting blood, his face twisted, his fingernails piercing his palms until they bled, he suddenly raised his head and shouted at Ling Zixiao, "Stop! Fellow Taoists, please stop! My Yu family is willing to offer by Lake Mountain as compensation." Yu Ning's voice became extremely hoarse. To hand over the ancestral foundation willingly, he was naturally reluctant. But if people are lost without the land, both will be lost. If the land is lost but people remain, both can be kept. As long as the green hills are there, there's no fear of running out of firewood. If today he could bring the other party down with him, he would naturally be willing to risk his life. But now, facing Lu Changxing and others, they had absolutely no strength to fight back. At most, they could only make the opponent suffer some losses and be seriously injured. Such anger, hatred, and desperation were meaningless. If that's the case, open the formation quickly. Upon hearing this, Ling Zixio's expression was clear and sharp, and he said in a cold voice, "Ning Hu, big brother, ancestor." The other Yu family cultivators, hearing these words, all looked toward Ninghu. Some were sorrowful and furious. Some were relieved and breathed a sigh of relief. I ask my fellow Taoists to make a heart demon oath. As long as my Yu family is willing to offer by Lake Mountain as compensation, let this matter end here. Yu Ning's face was filled with bitterness, with unwilling tears in his eyes. Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao exchanged glances. Lu Yuanzhong and Bai Yunyang, hearing this, also stopped their assault. Soon, the four made a heart demon oath. They stated that if the Yu family offered all the foundations of Bai Lake Mountain as compensation, the feud between the two families would thus be settled. Open the formation. Seeing that Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao and others had made heart demon oaths, Yu Ninghu gritted his teeth and shouted loudly at the people. At this moment, even if some were reluctant, they could only follow the order. Boom! The mountain gate grand formation of Bai Lake Mountain was opened. Immediately, Ling Zixiao stopped his assault and took out a second-rank spiritual contract. In Red Leaf Valley, they established a treaty, binding the Yu family to commence the signing of the contract with Yu Ninghu. It stated that, given their mutual grievances, today the Yu family would offer Bai Lake Mountain as compensation to the Lu family, to Lu Changxing. In return, the Lu family would provide the Yu family with a temporary residence at Shaojing Mountain. The Yu family must reside at Shaojing Mountain for 10 years. During this 10-year period, neither family may attack the other. Additionally, the Yu family must cooperate in transferring all the properties under the name of Bai Lake Mountain. This is impossible. Upon seeing the spiritual contract, the patriarch of the Yu family, Yu Ningyuan, immediately exclaimed loudly. Now, by relinquishing Bai Lake Mountain, their Yu family still had hopes of a resurgence, relying on the family's properties. But once all the properties under Bai Lake Mountain were transferred, it would be exceedingly difficult for the Yu family to rise again. Fellow Taoist, isn't this a bit too coercive? Yu Ning's expression was ugly as he addressed Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao, unwilling to sign such a contract. Not only does his family have to confine themselves for 10 years, but they also have to cooperate in transferring family properties during these 10 years. It was tantamount to the family relinquishing their animosity and becoming a vassal to the Lu family for 10 years. How could he possibly agree to such a thing? You Taoist friend, you now have no choice, Ling Zixiao said coldly. After speaking, she laughed lightly and added, "Of course, we won't be too unreasonable. As long as your Yu family cooperates, we can preserve some of your properties." Sigh. Yu Ning's eyes closed tightly as he took a deep breath and exhaled. He knew that at this moment, his family no longer had any negotiating leverage. Eventually, the two parties finalized the contract. If the Yu family cooperates within 10 years, some of their properties can be retained. Regarding the division of properties, those far from Bai Lake Mountain or in some smaller marketplaces would be given to the Yu family. However, properties around the Yu family, like those in the Red Leaf Valley Market and the Nine Dragons Market, would all be transferred under the name of the Lu family. But please grant us some time to relocate. After signing the contract and handing over the control of the family's grand formation, Yu Ninghu looked completely drained, overwhelmed with weakness. Even though he knew that his actions today were for the sake of preserving the family, it was still difficult for him to face his ancestors after surrendering the family's ancestral lands and foundations on a silver platter. When you relocate, I hope none of you will do anything destructive. After all, from today onwards, Bai Lake Mountain will be the spirit land of my lord husband. Ling Zixio's pale and delicate features softened their chill, revealing a dignified and elegant demeanor as she spoke softly. However, everyone who saw her demure form and frail appearance dared not underestimate her. "My lord husband's spirit land?" Upon hearing this, Yuninghu turned to look at Lu Changxing. He suddenly realized that he had misjudged the situation. The Lu family wasn't using the demand for by Lake Mountain as a spirit land to take the moral high ground and force his family into submission to seize their legacy. Everything today was led by Lu Changxing and the woman named Ling Zixiao. It was Lu Changxing who desired to take over their ancestral land and establish his own sect. At this moment, regret surged through him. He understood that if Lu Changxing wanted to establish his own sect, he could have taken advantage of the Grand Formation not being activated earlier to negotiate terms with Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao. Although he couldn't defeat people like Lu Changxing, he could have used the Grand Formation to sabotage his family's fishery, herb gardens, spirit fields, and spirit veins. Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao certainly wouldn't want to receive a ruined and dilapidated by Lake Mountain. But now, with everything settled, he had nothing more to say. Chapter 600, Blue Lake Mountain Lu Family. Stirring from all directions. July bonus chapter for 2,500 monthly votes, _1 Congratulations, Lu Daoist. Now that the matter is settled, I shall not stay long and will make my way back first. As the dust settled on the issue, Bai Yunyang bid farewell to Lu Changxing with clasped hands, indicating his intention to return to Hundred Birds Lake. White Daoist has worked hard on this trip. Once the matter is fully dealt with, we will find time to drink and celebrate together. Lu Changxing clasped his hands slightly toward Bai Yunyang and said with a smile. Although Bai Yunyang hadn't exerted too much effort on this trip, such an affair, for someone to willingly offer assistance and show their stance, was already quite commendable. In response, he was willing to reciprocate the kindness. Moreover, he had long thought out his own family's path. His main focus was to avoid strife, make wide connections, and believe that harmony brings wealth. Good, when Lu Daoist establishes your family's grand ceremony, I will definitely come to observe the ceremony and join you for a drink and a chat. Upon hearing this, Bai Yunyang immediately responded with clasped hands and a smile. In his expression and words, however, he couldn't help but convey a measure of respect and awe. Although everyone was a foundation establishment cultivator, there were still differences between individuals. The Lu Changxing before him, who single-handedly killed 3 foundation-building great cultivators, how could he not feel a deep sense of reverence toward him? He felt fortunate that he had befriended Lu Changxing on this trip. Otherwise, with the combination of Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao, which neighboring family or power wouldn't live in apprehension? Having said that, he also clasped hands towards Ling Zixiao and Lu Yuanzhong and bid them farewell aloud. Daoist Bai, take care. Nephew Bai, go slowly. Ling Zixiao and Lu Yuanzhong nodded slightly. Screech. The next moment, Bai Yunyang released a black flying eagle from his spiritual pet bag at the energy refinement late stage and rode away on it. Zixiao, are you all right? After watching Bai Yunyang leave, Lu Changxing approached Ling Zixiao, took her fair wrist, and checked on her condition. He had always been aware of Ling Zixiao's physical condition. Although she had recovered considerably after more than a year of care, the atrophy of her meridians and dantian had not been resolved. If she used too much mana, it would injure her meridians and dantian. Just now, Ling Zixiao's effort to break the formation would certainly have placed a certain load on her meridians and dantian. Husband, it's nothing serious. Ling Zixiao conveyed to Lu Changxing through a message, speaking in a soft tone. However, as Lu Changxing held Ling Zixiao's wrist to examine her condition, he immediately saw that her meridians and dantian were under severe strain, a total mess. If it continued, there was fear of meridian damage. Instantly, he understood that Ling Zixiao had actually reached her limit just now and had been bluffing Yuninghu. With her current condition, she was truly unable to continue using mana to break formations. Changxing, someone needs to be stationed in the family. Miaoga is still at Foundation establishment, shall I go back first? At that moment, Lu Yuanzhong spoke to Lu Changxing from the side. With the issue of Blue Lake Mountain settled. In his view, having Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao stationed there was sufficient. Now that Qingzhou Mountain was in a vulnerable state, protected only by the Great Formation, he had to get back early. Good, old ancestor, you have worked hard on this matter. You take Miaoyun and the others back first, leave a few elder family members skilled in dealing with affairs, and they will take over the Yu family affairs with me later, said Lu Changxing, nodding to Lu Yuanzhong. Since Ling Zixiao was currently unwell, needing proper care and healing, he planned to settle down in Blue Lake Mountain. He would wait for the Yu family to complete their relocation and handle their affairs. But he was not very adept at dealing with family affairs, so he needed a few people to help. Good. Lu Yuanzhong, upon hearing this, immediately arranged for several people to stay behind at Blue Lake Mountain with Lu Changxing. Yuna, Huan, you two follow the old ancestor back first, and I will come to pick you up later, Lu Changxing said, advancing towards his wives Lu Miaoyun and Lu Miaohuan. Husband, be careful. The two women nodded in response. Looking towards Lu Changxing, there was also a newfound reverence in their eyes. As his wives, they thought they were quite familiar with Lu Changxing. But Lu Changxing's actions and performance that day made them realize that they did not really understand their husband as much as they thought. Be careful as well, he responded. Huan, keep that puppet for self-defense, said Lu Changxing in a gentle voice, knowing his wife had many questions in her mind. But such matters were not something he had time to explain right now. After speaking, he looked towards the children on the spirit boat and called out, Xianxia, Yuner, Xiaru, you three stay behind and help the family elders with the Blue Lake Mountain affairs later. Lu Changxing spoke to his sons Lu Xianji, Lu Yun, and his daughter Lu Xiaoru. Once Blue Lake Mountain was fully taken over, he naturally wanted to place his children in charge. Now that Lu Xianji and a few other people had arrived, he wanted them to get acquainted with the situation first. Yes, father. The three children responded, some excited and pleased. This caused other children and Lu family disciples to look at them with some envy. After that, Lu Changxing and others settled in with the Yu family. During this time, Lu Changxing wasn't worried about the Yu family causing any trouble. After all, the control of Blue Lake Mountain's Great Formation was now in the hands of Ling Zixiao. Moreover, if it really came down to a fight, he alone could wipe out all of the Yu family members. Shortly after, Lu Changxing began healing Ling Zixiao in a room, stabilizing her physical condition. Yu family ancestral hall. Big brother, do we really have to move? Ninghu, all the core disciples and elders of the Yu family looked towards Yu Ninghu with faces filled with unwillingness and righteous indignation. Move! Yu Ninghu spoke with a calm and indifferent expression. Now that the old ancestor is gone, and the situation is beyond our control, what else can we do if we don't move? Do you really want to fight to the death? If fighting to the death could avenge our old ancestor, Yu Ninghu would naturally not be afraid. But that would be nothing more than a needless sacrifice. Our Yu family history records that 300 years ago, our ancestors rose from a small energy refinement family step by step, broke through to foundation establishment, seized Blue Lake Mountain, and established the Blue Lake Mountain Yu family.